Welcome, one and all, to another episode, another spine number of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Andrew Cabral, and tonight you are joining me for episode spine number 184. Thank you all for joining me here, whether you're listening on the audio, whether you're watching the live stream, whether you're rewatching the live stream, listening to the audio later on, whenever you're getting to this, I'm glad that you do eventually. Um, so if you're not familiar with the show of Chasing Labels, the network of Chasing Labels, it's a movie collectors assembly of various shows. The main show here is Chasing Labels, and this is the one where we take the last 2 weeks or so of time and we go over all of the different announcements that have happened in the world of boutique label home media. It's typically not everything, but it's usually things that I'm interested in adding to my collection, or things that I just find interesting in general. You may feel the same way. So while it's not everything, it's a good amount, if you will, especially an amount for just one person to talk about in one sitting, if you will. But before we get into all of that announcement news and all that kind of stuff, couple of things to go over here. Just a little housekeeping for the world of Chasing Labels. There will be a new episode of the Unwatched Pile, I believe next week. Yeah, it's scheduled for next Monday, the 23rd of February of 2026. If you're not familiar with the episodic show that we do here called the Unwatched Pile, basically we take something that is unwatched from our collection, something we've bought and we've just put on a shelf, or we've put on a stack of movies, and we say, hey, we'll get to that eventually. And sometimes it takes us years, sometimes it takes us months, sometimes it takes us days, but we do eventually get to it. And we take it, we watch it, and then we pair it up with another movie in our collection that would function well as a double feature. That's how the Unwatched Pile works. Also, here on Chasing Labels, there will be, of course, be another episode in 2 weeks' time. I'm thinking, since it will be the first, or the second rather, of March, that episode will probably end up being on a Tuesday, just because the 1st of March will have all of the announcements from Vinegar Syndrome as well as their partner labels, and there's usually over 20 announcements, and that's a lot to go over in just one day. Considering it happens in the afternoon and that will happen on a Sunday, at least if I take all of Monday, it gives me an extra day to watch as many of those movies as I can, prepare for all of that. So that will probably be happening next time. Also, check out all the other stuff we've got going on here. We just did a new review of Criterion titles that came out this month, or at least 2 Criterion titles that came out this month. I talked about, what did I talk about? I talked about The Man Who Wasn't There. This is the Coen Brothers film from 2001, their neo-noir from 2001. This is the movie they did after Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and before they did No Country for Old Men. That is up on the channel right now, and yeah, those will be coming pretty much monthly. So go back and check out the ones we've done in the past. I want to check to see the other title that we talked about on there as well. I don't remember anything that we do. I just do it and then move on to the next thing. Do it, then move on to the next thing. So I've got to check to see, what was the other title. Was it? Let me check. Okay. It was, oh good. Oh goodness, it's not here. Let's see. Oh, 310 to Yuma. That's right. That's right. We did. We talked about 310 to Yuma. We talked about The Man Who Wasn't There. But before we get into, like I said, all of the announcements, that's a little housekeeping here. So please check out all the stuff we do here on Chasing Labels. It's all centered around the love for movies, and also a bit. Speaking of love for movies, kind of a bit of a sad news today. Earlier today, it was announced that the great Robert Duvall has passed away at the age of 95. Robert Duvall, one of the great actors of our time, in my opinion. He's been doing work since, oh goodness, the 60s. He's been in movies, he's been in TV, he's been in TV miniseries, he's directed, he's written, kind of a jack of all trades in that regard. So, yeah, he passed away today, and I'm pretty sure many of you know of him and of his work. But I do wanna highlight a couple of my favorites that I have in my collection, and I realized going over quickly today, all the movies I have in my collection of that have Robert Duvall in them. I have quite a few, so I didn't wanna bring them all out because I didn't wanna take too much time and, and getting into all of that. So I picked up a few here. Nothing I don't think would be too surprising to anyone. I think it's mostly things people have in their collection. Let's see. Um, Let me start off early on. In his first feature-length movie appearance ever, is at the very end of the all-time classic movie To Kill a Mockingbird. The movie starring Gregory Peck, and he appears at the very end of this movie. Doesn't have any dialogue, but he plays a very, very important character in this movie. This is the older Universal Pictures Blu-ray digibook that came out, I think, for their 100th anniversary of circa 2011, 2012. It was somewhere in that area. This has since been released on a beautiful 4K edition, which I need to get, but I really have a soft spot for these old digibook editions as things are falling out of it. Um, yeah, I've always been a big fan of these editions. So that is To Killing Mockingbird, the first ever movie that Robert Duvall was in. He had been in other things beforehand, mostly episodes of television, but this was his first on-screen appearance, I believe, in a feature-length movie. Put that back. He's also in the movie Network. So Network, this is the old Warner Brothers Blu-ray. This month actually is the release of the Criterion, I believe. Let me check. Yet again, I should do all this research beforehand, but we do things on the fly here. We play it like Indiana Jones. Yes, February 24th, which is next Tuesday. So about a week from today, Network is getting a 4K UHD release from Criterion. That's something I'm definitely going to get. I don't think I may not wait until a flash sale or a 50% off sale. There is still supposed to be a a Criterion flash sale this month, next month, somewhere around this time. Either way, Robert Duvall is in the movie Network, one of my all-time favorite movies. Another movie he's in here, which is a movie I've had in my collection for a long, long time. I think I even had it on DVD, and that is Gods and Generals. And this he plays Robert E. Lee. This is an epic Civil War movie. There was the movie Gettysburg, and then there's the movie Gods and Generals, which is I believe Gods and Generals was a prequel to Gettysburg. Um, yeah, it's from the same director of Gettysburg, but Robert Duvall is in it as General Robert E. Lee. I'm a big, big history buff. I have my degree in history. Specifically, my fascination is with American history. So obviously, anything to do with big events in American history, I'm very much inclined to take a look at. Specifically, obviously, the American Civil War and whatnot. Um, but moving on from there, of course, we have the two movies that he's probably most well known for. At least it's the movies everybody probably knows him for are Godfather Part One and Godfather Part Two. This is the 4K UHD release from a couple of years ago, from the 50th anniversary. This was remastered and restored. They've done this so many times. They've done this so many times. I think this came out. Oh goodness. In 2022. Yes. Uh, so this is a couple of years old, but these look really, really gorgeous in 4K. They look gorgeous on Blu-ray, actually. Now I've had these on DVD, I've had these on Blu-ray, I've had these on 4K. I mean, I feel like people have always owned multiple editions of The Godfather. I just feel like that's the case. I remember in the 90s, my aunt and uncle, who've since passed now, they had the Godfather movies on VHS, and the movies obviously are so long that you had to have two VHS tapes to encompass the whole runtime. So I remember that from my early childhood days of the 90s. And yeah, so obviously people know him for being in these movies. He played Tom Hagen, who was kind of the lawyer of the Corleone family and kind of their right hand man, if you will. And he wasn't in the third movie. He did not come back for the third film, but of course he's in the first two films of the Godfather trilogy. And then of course he's got one of his most iconic scenes ever, or iconic moments in his career ever. I see this played and replayed all the time, all over social media. I've seen it in highlight reels and tributes. I've seen it so many times, and that is Apocalypse Now. Now, this is the 4K UHD edition of Apocalypse Now, another movie where I've owned on DVD, I've owned on Blu-ray, and I've owned on 4K. Now, this edition here contains three cuts of the movie. Yeah, it contains Apocalypse Now, the final cut, Apocalypse Now, the original 1979. I think that's the theatrical cut, and the Apocalypse Now Redux as well. So three cuts of the movie. And yeah, this it also contains the Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse. That is the making of documentary of Apocalypse Now. This is in here as well. They've also released that separately. I think Kino actually has released it separately, or going to release it separately. But either way, um, his scenes in this movie are so iconic. People remember this movie mostly for his scenes than for a lot of the other parts of the movie. Granted, this is a very long film. To me, this is one of the greatest movies ever made. Like, this movie is so stunningly and masterfully made. You can't really put it into words and description. You just have to experience it. It's one of those movies you just have to experience for yourself. Now, I started off watching the movie in the Redux cut, actually, the Redux cut on DVD. Then I watched the theatrical cut, and now I've seen the final cut, which is kind of an amalgamation of the theatrical cut as well as the Redux cut. And yeah, I've always loved this movie, but I love the smell of napalm in the morning. So that is a lot of a couple of my favorite Robert Duvall films. But Robert Duvall was in so many other films. He, of course, was in Steve McQueen's Widows, which was one of his last movies. He was in Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise. He was in heck, he's an Oscar winner. I feel like people don't talk about his Oscar winning film enough, which is a movie called what's it called? Tender Mercies from 1983. That's available on Blu-ray through Kino. If anybody's interested in picking that up. He was also in the movie The Apostle. He was in oh man, his last movie was The Pale Blue Eye. Let's see, what else was he in that is of note? He was in Crazy Heart. He's in The Road. I remember that. We Own the Night, I think, is an underrated movie. Of course, he was in the TV miniseries Lonesome Dove. That's another big one. That's actually something I haven't seen yet. I want to read the book before I watch the Lonesome Dove miniseries. But yeah, really sad loss. Obviously, he lived an incredibly long and successful life. And there's a lot of people paying tributes who worked with Robert Duvall and knew Robert Duvall. Obviously, our condolences go out to his friends and family, but truly a lasting legacy in the world of cinema. Um, yeah, it's truly, truly sad. But such is life. We're losing so many people in the world of movies and entertainment and just life in general. I feel like so many people are passing away. But we do have some comments here before we move on to the a couple other things here. I do have a movie collection update that I want to get through, and then we can get into the announcements. But a couple of comments here. Our friend JB44, greetings, Andrew. Greetings, fellow chasers. Nice. I hopefully that catches on. Chasers. That's what the fans of chasing labels are called. Chasers. Because we're always chasing movies, I feel. At least I am, in terms of a collector. A collector never stops collecting. We really don't. Every single day, the first thing I do, and I've been doing this for years and years, is I check to see well, obviously the news, check to see the news, what's been announced, if anything's been announced, and then I check to see what's on sale. I check to see what's dropped in price, what's the current price of certain things that I've been looking for. That's just what I do. That's what's on my mind all the time. Another comment here is from I cannot pronounce that. Uh, Vikrististad. Hi there, rest in peace, Robert Duvall. Obviously, R.I.P. Robert Duvall. Also from him, we have looking forward to seeing Network for the first time soon. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's a first time experience I wish I could relive again, which is watching Network for the first time. Kind of blew my mind, and I saw it years ago. I saw it probably over 15 years ago. I can't remember if I had it on DVD or not, or if I just straight up bought the Blu-ray. I think I may have just straight up bought the Blu-ray back in like 2011. I think it was around that time. Um, but either way, let's get into movie collection update. Um, First up here is a movie I'm so glad to finally have in the collection. I've been talking about it here on Chasing Labels actually for a number of years, and I never actually had it. That's the movie Outland. This is the Peter Hyams film from 1981. This is essentially a western in space, starring Sean Connery. And this 4K looks amazing considering that this movie really hasn't had a lot of great love on home media. It was available on DVD and it was available on an older Blu-ray, and that was about it. It's never really gotten a nice restoration or remastering of any kind, let alone, a ton of special features which are on here. But this is a really great release from Arrow Video from late last year. I'm glad that I finally picked it up. Um, and yeah, I've always think this movie's super underrated. Super underrated. If you've never seen it before, check it out if you can. Imagine it's Sean Connery playing a space cop, and basically it's this dystopian future where we've got like mining colonies on like moons and planets and stuff like that. And in this one mining colony, um, people are starting to go crazy from like perhaps they're being overworked, perhaps there's other things going on, and Sean Connery gets hired as like the head of security of this mining colony, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. Why are people kind of suddenly going crazy and like committing suicide and going nuts? And um it ends up becoming like a High Noon scenario. If you ever seen that Western High Noon, it kind of ends up becoming that type of scenario. But it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. I've been recommending it for years. There's an audio commentary by Peter Hyams on here. There's a brand new audio commentary by film critic Chris Alexander, and I think there is an interview on here actually with Peter Hyams himself, and it is new. I'm trying to see where it is. Let's see. I don't know why it's not listed on here. But either way, there is an interview with him because I watched it. um, there's also a newly filmed interview by director of photography Stephen Goldblatt. And there's also a new interview with visual effects artist William Mesa. Yeah, yeah, it's not. I don't know why it's not listed on here, but either way, it's really, really insightful because he talks about not only making this movie, but he talks about the other parts of his career and kind of the journey leading up to the making of this movie. And yeah, it's really, really good. So I highly recommend Outland. I may have talked about this last time. I don't remember. I never go back and rewatch or re-listen to the previous episode unless I have to edit it. For some reason, there's long gaps of audio or something like that. But I hardly never go back and listen to. So I got the movie Begonia. This is the newest film by Yorgos Lanthimos. I may have talked about it last time. Don't really remember. Either way, there is a making of special feature on here that I found to be very interesting. There's also interviews with that include interviews with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. This is his newest film, as it is came out in 2025. One of my favorites, actually. It was in my top 20, top 25 favorites of 2025. It's available to stream right now, I believe, on Peacock. Obviously, the 4K is available, the Blu-ray is available. I'm a big fan of Yorgos Lanthimos' work. I think his work is incredibly unique and challenging to us as viewers, which is kind of what I look for in a lot of movies. And he and Emma Stone have a great rapport together. Jesse Plemons is excellent in this movie. This is a remake of the movie Save the Green Planet, which is getting a Blu-ray release from Arrow. And yeah, I thought this is a really good remake of that movie. A couple of other things here. This is the movie Delta Space Mission. Now, the reason why I bought this is because this is a release from Deaf Crocodile. Deaf Crocodile is one of my. It's it's one of the labels that we talk about pretty frequently here on Chasing Labels, and we've talked about them for years, pretty much since they launched. Oh goodness, several years ago as a partner label on Vinegar Syndrome. They've since gone out and done their own thing. I think they partnered up actually with Diabolic DVD. But either way, this is actually their second release. I know you guys probably can't see it here because of the focus is way out of whack. But speaking of which, I actually have to adjust that. I'm glad I'm reminding myself. So I usually turn off the autofocus because the autofocus tends to go all wonky on you if you don't notice it. So yeah, I just turned off the autofocus. But this is Delta Space Mission, an animated film, and actually I haven't watched this yet, so I can't really comment on it. All I can say is that Deaf Crocodile put it out, and it was their second release. So I'm slowly making my way. They've got tons of releases now, but Delta Space Mission. Um, and then let's see, I've got some other things here. I mean, I'll save this one for last, just because. Okay, big one here. Excalibur, the 4K UHD limited edition of Excalibur. This is the John Boorman film from 1980, I believe. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. This honestly, it was one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and this may be one of my favorites of the year when it's all said and done. This has got potential for release of the year. And I know it's February. It's a little early to be saying these things, but I love Excalibur. Um and I love the King Arthur, the Arthurian legend, the book L'Amour d'Arthur, which this is based on. But man, Excalibur is so awesome. Um, I'm a big fan of medieval fantasy, uh, stuff like that. Like that's one of my favorite genres. One of my favorite genres of books and movies and TV shows. This is a 3-disc deluxe edition that is just stunning. Um, that as you can see here, typical setup on the side. On the back, you have the sword Excalibur as well as the Holy Grail on the back as well. Beautiful artwork on the cover. Um, our friend, who's a friend of the show here, Scott Sazlo, he worked on the layout and the book design for this as well. He's still slated to joining me here on Chasing Labels in late March to talk about his various work and whatnot. He worked on this, and he also worked on this release as well. And this is the release of Westworld, the 4K UHD release of Westworld. Man, um, this is the based on the Michael Crichton work. Yes, directed by Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton, the author, who also did some directing. He tended to direct a lot of his own stuff, like Andromeda Strain and stuff like that. But this is really cool. Now, obviously, people may know it because HBO turned this into a TV show several years ago, which was a very successful TV show for about 2 seasons, and then people lost interest in it very, very fast. It ended up lasting another 2 seasons, and that was about it. And I think HBO and Warner Bros. Have actually taken it off of their streaming service. Um, but this is a beautiful release of the movie Westworld, some 1980s sci-fi. Yes. No, 1970s sci-fi, sorry. Um, that seemed to be Michael Crichton's thing. Of course, he's most well known for writing the book Jurassic Park, which of course adapted by Steven Spielberg. It's one of Steven Spielberg's most beloved movies of all time. All of that stuff. So that's those two things. I'm super glad to get those. Like those were 2 releases I wanted to get. And I talked about this last time that Barnes& and Noble was having a 50% off sale for indicator releases. It was indicator releases, and I picked up 3 Jean Roland films. Requiem for a Vampire. These are all 4K editions. Requiem for a Vampire. So I got a little Fantastique here. The Nude Vampire. A bit of a theme going on here with Jean Roland back in the 70s. And then, of course, was the Rape of the Vampire. So Jean Roland had a little vampire thing going on back in the 70s. If you know Jean Roland, if you know the Fantastique, you kind of understand what these movies are. less about plot, more about mood and tone and stuff like that. Um, yeah, always pushing the boundaries, but I picked those up because they were 50% off, and I've been wanting to get all of the genre-Lan films. Now, for the coup de grace, for the big old finale here, for the movie collection update, is this. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 4K UHD collection of 7 movies. This is, it says it right here, the groundbreaking horror franchise in a one of a kind 7 film collection. Now, most of you probably are familiar with it with the Steelbook set, the gorgeous Steelbook set that came out, and people scooped it all up, and then many people are still trying to sell them on eBay for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. There's going to be a restock of that in September, but I'm cool with just getting the regular standard edition. I'm cool with that. You know, I love steelbooks. I think steelbooks are cool and awesome, but I'm impatient, and also I don't like to spend hundreds and hundreds of overpriced dollars. So here's the edition here. I also don't have the shelf space for that other set. Here's the discs are all red. They're you get the 3D glasses in here as well. Um, and yeah, nice set. I've only ever owned the first movie, the one that was directed by Wes Craven. He also did New Nightmare as well, but I've never owned the complete series because I was waiting for a better complete series. Well, a better complete series of Nightmare on Elm Street set than had been released previously. There had been one that was released on Blu-ray several years ago, and I know many people have had it. Many horror fans, it's been a staple in their collection for many years. I just never got it. I just never got it because I wanted a more deluxe set, and this is kind of more in line with what I was looking for. Um, yeah, so this is a big one to add to my collection. It's been something that's been missing from my collection for a very long time, and yeah, I'm glad I finally got it. So let me check the comments here because I know there's a couple of them that came flying in. Um, Let me scroll back up. Let's see. Bum. Our friend Acres of Movies is here. Hello and thanks. Very excited for this. Well, you're welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you're here enjoying it. Um, I do also agree Yorgos is great. I've liked all of his movies. I know not he's not for everyone. I will definitely concur with that sentiment. His movies are not for everyone. Certainly, um, Dogtooth is not going to be a movie that people are going to be comfortable watching. Even something like The Favorite. What's the other ones? Killing of a Sacred Deer is another film that's going to be weird people out. The Lobster I've always really liked. I've always really liked that movie. Um, Poor Things I think is really great. I even liked Kind of Kindness. I don't think it was quite on par with the other films that he's currently doing, but it's kind of lost in that shuffle a little bit. But I still like it. Let's see. Illuminated Pro is here. Illuminated Pro, I haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for coming back. Um, Illuminated Pro asked, anyone tune in for the Independent Spirit Awards, the real Oscars? I actually did. So yesterday, they live streamed them on YouTube. You can watch it for free, which is really nice. So I woke up and it was currently on. So I just had it on while I was starting my day. And I always love the Film Independent Spirit Awards. It's kind of my favorite award show, to be quite honest, because those are the movies that I tend to gravitate towards the most. Those are the movies that I want to see the most. And there were a lot of stars there yesterday. There were a lot of really good stars. Train Dreams ended up winning a few awards, which I was surprised because I love that movie. It's streaming currently on Netflix, and it's excellent. It's really excellent. Let's see. No, let's see. So I did hear this news as well. Luminaire Pro says also Mysterious Skin 4K got announced. So yes, I did see that announcement, and also I noticed. Oh goodness, sometime last year or the year before, the time seems to run into one another for me. The Mysterious Skin Blu-ray that was released several years ago, had gone out of print. So that led me to believe that it had gotten picked up by someone else, because there's no way a Greg Araki film like that's not gonna be picked up by someone. Also, Greg Araki recently had, um, a box set put out by Criterion. Actually, I had it. Where do I have it? Hold on, let me see. Yep, I have it right next to me. Right next to me. This is the Greg Araki's Teen Apocalypse trilogy. Totally effed up. The Doom Generation and Nowhere. So yeah, I picked this up. I think at the July Criterion sale. I picked this up at. Can't remember. I can't. Um, but I'll perhaps Criterion has Mysterious Skin. Who knows? But yeah, I can't wait to get that movie to add it to this one here, because it really fits along with these movies. Let me put that there. Let's see. Now, Illuminated Pro, you said you watched The Plague. Now, is that the movie? That's the movie I think it is. Let's see. Is that the movie from 2025? The one um with the kids at the water polo camp? If that's that movie, then I've also seen that movie recently as well. Um, Interesting film. Very interesting film. Let's see. JB44 says I recently picked up Dawson's Creek Complete Series Blu-ray, Stargate Complete Series Collection, Blu-ray, and tomorrow, yeah, the Ben-Hur 4K is coming out tomorrow. I know we don't really talk about mainstream releases here on Chasing Labels, just because we had to be a little niche, and feel like everybody talks about mainstream stuff. Um, but the Ben-Hur 4K is coming out from Warner Brothers tomorrow, which is the 17th. I heard it looks astonishing. I've been seeing screenshots of it, and reviews are starting to come out about it, and I heard it looks stunning. I will say the one thing with Warner Brothers right now, recently, amongst all the turmoil that's going on over there, amongst them being bought by um, Discovery and now being bought by perhaps Netflix or Paramount, and them uh, doing whatever with physical media and whatever with their catalog stuff that they've been putting out themselves the last couple of years have looked really, really good. I'm talking really, really good. I don't have a few next to me, but I'm talking about like the Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, Rebel Without a Cause. Those types of catalog films have looked really, really good. So whatever restorations they're doing, remasterings they're doing, it's working out really well. I know Warner Archive is a whole separate thing. We'll get actually going to get into Warner Archive, but yeah, so that's really good stuff. So, coincidentally, I actually do want to get the Dawson's Creek uh set as well. Yeah. Speaking of which, rest in peace, James Vanderbeek. Gee, someone says here, waiting on a copy of Shawscope Volume 3. We'll have 3 of them. That's a lot of copies. I got my where are they? Oh, they're over there. Yeah, I still have to get Volume 4 of Shawscope. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a sale. I most recently watched Night of the Juggler. Was very good. Night of the Juggler is an excellent movie. Let's see. Acres of Movies asks something outside of the normal. What are your 3 favorite cuisines? I'm assuming you mean like, you know, Italian food, French food, Chinese food, et cetera, et cetera. It's tough because I don't really typically like go after one type of food. I mean, I eat Chinese food rather frequently, so Chinese food would be in my top 3. Um, Portuguese food, because it's part of my, I guess, heritage and culture. Throw that in there. Plus, that's a mix of like seafood as well as more traditional meats and potatoes and whatnot. Italian food I can't really eat that much anymore. Due to due to reasons, stomach reasons, essentially. Um, so let's see what else is there. I do like. I don't know. Is Mediterranean food like a cuisine? We'll throw that in there, I guess. Let's see. Oh yeah. So someone says I also recommend Yokohama BJ Blues from Radiance. That's a great. I really like that movie a lot, a lot, a lot. We're gonna be talking Radiance today as well. Um, yeah, if you're having a ball, what monster from a movie do you hire to do entertainment? Oh, Godzilla, clearly, clearly Godzilla. Let's see. Let's see. Illuminated Pro says pizza, chicken, burgers. You kind of just, Illuminated Pro. You and I are on the same wavelength because that's kind of my regular rotation. It's not those are my regular rotation of favorites. Is American cuisine kind of a thing? Because American cuisine is kind of made up of other worlds cuisines, right? Um, Begonia is great. Train Dreams overrated. Okay. Illuminated Pro says the score made it over dramatic. I understand. The cinematography was so aware of itself. I didn't mind any of that, to be honest. Let's see. Um, n- Someone says No Other Choice needed some Oscar noms. I was really surprised. Really, really surprised that No Other Choice didn't get at least a nomination in Best International Film. Kind of shocked. Uh, kind of shocked. Let's see. Acres to Movies asks, what you prefer, a golden child or what about Bob? Which one will have the star to have a commentary soonest? Um, but the Golden Child just got a Vinegar Syndrome release recently, so it got a pretty deluxe release. What about Bob? I was actually thinking about earlier. That could use a remastered re-release. I don't think you could get Bill Murray to do anything, or Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss may be an interview, but even then, I don't think he wants to talk about that movie. I don't think he wants to talk about that movie at all. I think they've said all they wanted to say about that movie over the years. They hated working with each other. He and Bill Murray did not like working with each other whatsoever. So you're probably never going to get them to talk about it. Um, yeah. So let's see. Okay, so let's go. Let's go to the movie announcements. As you can see here, if you're looking down below, there is a list of my show notes about all the pretty much all the titles I want to talk about here for this episode. And so I don't typically go in order of the show notes. This is I kind of free I kind of freewheel and deal it. Basically, I take I go with the Indiana Jones method. I just make things up as I go along. I will say this: I always save Criterion for the last every time there's Criterion announcements, just because you got to save something for the grand finale. So I will actually start off doing Warner Archive, just because that seems like the way to go. So Warner Archive had their March announcements. These are all coming out in March. It says Warner Archive has announced its March batch of releases. They are It All Came True from 1940, Honky Tonk from 1941, The Gay Divorcee from 1934, Tea and Sympathy from 1956, The Man Who Came to Dinner from 1942, and then you've got some TV animated stuff that I'm definitely going to be adding to my collection. You have Scooby's All Star Laugh Olympics from 1977 and 1978, and you have Looney Tunes Collector's Vault Volume 2. Now, where do I have it? Luckily, I've got Collector's Vault Volume 1 still here on the couch next to me. So, like I've said, this has already been announced. I've already talked about it. Collector's Vault Volume 2, which is coming out in March, will be similar to this set here. It'll be 2 discs. It'll be, I think 50 shorts. That's 25 per disc. So, that's something I'll definitely be getting at some point. So let's see what else we've got here. So It All Came True. Let's start with that because this movie actually stars Humphrey Bogart, and this is Humphrey Bogart circa 1940. This is before he was in Casablanca, really before he was kind of a leading man. This was, I think, the same year as the Maltese Falcon. So this is kind of a transition period for Humphrey Bogart. And even in this movie, he's still playing a heavy. Uh, So, killer Chips McGuire, Humphrey Bogart, is cooling his heels where the cops will never find him. A shabby boarding house run by two dear old ladies who cluck over Chips like devoted mother hens. When Chips finds out the biddies owe back taxes, he hits on a can't miss scheme. He talks his for fellow boarders, zanies all, into turning the house into a gay 90s themed nightclub. Fans who know the pre stardom Bogart for his compelling performances as tidy, coiled heavies in gangster sagas are in for a real treat as Bogey unwinds with deadpan cracks and this appealing crime comedy. Yeah, this movie's like a it's like a crime comedy. So he's this killer gangster who is on the run from the law, and he decides to hide out in this boarding house full of eccentric oddball people. And one of the straighter people in this is Anne Sheridan, and he strikes up this little romance relationship back and forth relationship with Anne Sheridan. But the movie's got a bunch of character actors in it who are just great on screen. They're excellent. I really enjoy this movie a lot. It's really interesting to see Humphrey Bogart still in his heavy gangster role that he would do a lot in the 1930s, before he would, of course, be in, like I said, in Casablanca and other films. I want to see who directed this movie. See if it was someone I know. It was Louis Seller, not anyone of note that I remember, but this movie does have a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, classic Warner Brothers cartoons in Circus Today and the Sour Puss, as well as the original theatrical trailer. And that's from coming out March 31st. I think these are all coming out March 31st. Next, we have the movie Honky Tonk. Now, this stars Clark Gable. So, con artist Candy Johnson, Clark Gable, has been run out of town after town. Then he got wise. He went out and got a town of his own, Yellow Creek, Nevada. Alana Turner stars opposite Clark Gable in this sometimes comic, always terrific Western. The title Honky Tonk is the Square Deal Saloon, where Candy and poker playing sidekick Sniper cut cards but not the liquor. The colorful townsfolk include a Justice of the Peace, portrayed by Frank Morgan, who's also Lana Turner's father in this movie, a long suffering dance hall girl, Claire Trevor, and a law unto himself sheriff in Albert Decker. Topping it all is the pizzazz of the first Gable Turner pairing. Um, yeah, this movie is interesting, kind of Western con artisty, schmarmy type of movie starring Clark Gable, and he ends up basically running the town. He's a con artist turned kind of straight, not really straight. He ends up in a relationship with Lana Turner. Frank Morgan is her drunk father who kind of hates him and is always against him. And yeah, and the movie kind of escalates and goes from there. I really enjoyed the movie. I think Lana Turner's excellent. She's always been one of my favorites. I know Clark Gable is has his fans. Certainly not amongst old Hollywood people. Old Hollywood fans really hate Clark Gable. I've learned that a lot. So this movie has a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, classic Tom and Jerry cartoon, The Midnight Snack, classic Our Gang comedy short, Fightin' Fools, audio only Lux Radio Theater broadcast from 1946 with Lana Turner and John Hodiak, and original theatrical trailer. Um, yeah, if you're a fan of old Hollywood stuff, Warner Archives got you covered. They really, really do. Um, let's see. The next movie is The Gay Divorcee, and I saw this movie years ago. After supporting roles in Flying Down to Rio sent their movie careers soaring, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers starred for the first time in this witty and delightful escapade about marriage, divorce, and all the romantic complications that come in between. The Gay Divorcee set the style, tone, and behind-the-scenes talents for the Astaire-Rogers classics to come, and captured 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. Musical highlights here include the 17-minute Marvel The Continental, the first Oscar winner for Best Song, and Cole Porter's haunting Night and Day. Indeed, if Astaire and Rogers had never danced a lick after Night and Day, they still would have been screen immortals. Now, 92 years after its premiere, this cherished classic can be experienced as it was meant to be seen, with this Blu-ray disc revealing a stunning restoration from a 4K scan of the original nitrate camera negative. The fact that they still have that and it's not exploded after all this time is a miracle. It's a miracle. If you know anything about nitrate, it's very flammable. At least if I do recall. Yes. Or maybe I'm thinking of silver nitrate. I may be thinking of silver nitrate. Either way, the fact that they have the original camera negative of this 92-year-old movie is a miracle in and of itself. And this is a classic musical dance film with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, two of the best ever to do it. Two of the best ever to do it. There are some classic shorts on here: Art Trouble, Masks and Memories, classic cartoons, I Like Mountain Music, and Shake Your Powder Puff. Audio only. There's a radio promotional broadcast. Screen Guild Playhouse with Frank Sinatra, Edward Everett Horton, and Gloria de Haven from 1944. Original theatrical trailer. So Tea and Sympathy. Now this is a movie. This is honestly one of the best movies I think I've seen from any Warner Archive release in a while. This movie is incredible. It's incredible. It's directed by Vincente Minnelli. Came out in 1956. When MGM premiered the film Tea and Sympathy in 1956, the New York Times mercurial film reviewer Bosley Crowther raved that the film was strong and sensitive, and went on to praise the excellence of director Vincente Minnelli's adaptation of the Broadway play upon which the film was based. Um, Now, this movie, far ahead of its time. This movie's dealing with LGBTQ plus themes, specifically homosexuality, which obviously in 1956 is not something that was put in films or explored in movies in any overt way. A lot of it was hidden underneath the surface in a lot of movies because of the Hays Code and because of the times, obviously, not like today. But this movie was just way ahead of its time. It says homosexuality was a taboo subject in 1956 Hollywood, so it was a challenge for screenwriter Robert Anderson to adapt his hit Broadway play about a sensitive prep schooler called Sister Boy by his peers and the lovely housemaster's wife who realizes she must offer more than tea and sympathy to help the boy prove his manhood. The frankness may be muted, but the power remains in this stellar film. Under Minnelli's undistinguished direction, Deborah Carr and John Carr reprised their Broadway roles as the older woman and the younger man in this poignant performances that reveal the compassion and torment of being human. Their stage co-star Leif Erikson joins them in counterpoint as the emotionally clenched housemaster, now beautifully remastered from a 4K scan of the original CinemaScope camera negative. One of Minnelli's very best dramas arrives on Blu-ray in pristine form. Yeah, this movie is incredible. It's just an astonishing film. It's bold without being overt. It's powerful with its subtlety, and at no point during the movie is sexuality ever mentioned or ever spoken about overtly in any way, but it's all there on screen. It's all there underneath the surface. It's all there on display. And my goodness, it's a powerful movie. Deborah Carr is incredible in this movie. She's one of my favorites, and she is stunning in the movie, and her performance is remarkable, remarkable. Other things on here. There's CinemaScope cartoon Downbeat Bear and original theatrical trailer. That is it. It's kind of a shame there isn't more special features about this movie. An interview from some expert, an audio commentary from some expert, because I want to see people talk about this movie and discuss it openly. Because I think it's that important of a film. Truly extraordinary work. It's the Tea and Sympathy from 1956. And then next up is a movie that could not be further from what I was just talking about. Tea and Sympathy is all melodramatic sincerity and powerful themes and all this kind of stuff. The Man Who Came to Dinner is a kind of farcical comedy. So, famed author Sheridan Whiteside possesses a tongue dipped in venom and a brain that can crack the New York Times crossword puzzle in 4 minutes. On a lecture tour in Ohio, he slips on the ice and is confined to the home of a bourgeois couple. He proceeds to plunge the household into chaos, ruling the place like a czar and meddling in everyone's love life. Monty Woolley, who's the Sheridan Whiteside author character, reprises his Broadway triumph as the imperious Whiteside in this delightful, lightning-paced farce. A who's who of Hollywood talents portray a who's who of thinly veiled real life luminaries, ranging from Gertrude Lawrence to Harpo Marx, and Betty Davis shines in an uncharacteristic role as Whiteside's unflappable secretary. The Man Who Came to Dinner, the original Broadway hit written by George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart, was superbly brought to the big screen by Warner Brothers to the delight of audiences for decades to come. Yeah, this movie moves at a lightning fast pace. It's fun, it's light, it's funny. Monty Woolley is on fire in this film. He is the worst house guest you could ever want. He stays too long. He bosses people around. He takes over the whole town. He gets into everybody's business. He has a comment about everything, and he starts like importing like exotic animals from other places. Um, it's wild. Like he has like four penguins he brings in at one point. It's nuts. He's awful. He's awful, but he's hilarious. And Betty Davis plays his assistant, who's kind of caught up in his insanities. And she has a B-side plot going on that's a romance plot in the film. Uh, that's in there as well. I've always loved Betty Davis, so seeing her on screen was awesome. This is a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative. There's an archival featurette inside a classic comedy, classic WB musical short, Glenn Gray and his Casa Loma Orchestra, classic WB cartoon, The Wabbit Who Came to Supper, audio only radio broadcast, Hot Point Holiday Hour with Jack Benny, Rosalind Russell from 1949, Lux Radio Theater with Clifton Webb and Lucille Ball. Wow, that's from 1950. That's a pairing right there if I ever did see one. Awesome stuff. So, excuse me. The other two releases are the television stuff, the Scooby Doo Laugh Olympics from 1977 and 1978, as well as the Looney Tunes Collector's Vault Volume 2, which I've already talked about. I talked about it on, I think, was it last episode or the episode before this of Chasing Labels? But that's typically TV stuff, and we don't spend too much time on that, much to my chagrin, because I could talk TV all of the time if I wanted to. Um, yes, let's see. See, a lot of comments coming here. Yes. So Acres of Movies asks a very important question for me because Ingrid Bergman is my favorite actress of all time. They ask, do you think Ingrid Bergman's one of her top performances in Of the Sixth Happiness? I do. I do believe it is. I believe she was nominated for an Oscar for that. Um, I have that movie actually on Blu-ray. Let's see, End of the Sixth Happiness from 1958. I just want to double check. I don't like talking out of turn when it comes to Oscar nominations. See, I think I scrolled past it. IMDb keeps moving these things. Well, actually, it was only nominated for Best Director. That's it. Oh, for some reason, I thought she was nominated for that movie. She should have been. She was not. She was not. Um, see some other comments here. See. Iggy the Movies asks, make the Rock Legacy sequel. You could do it. Nicolas Cage and many of the cast are still around. Obviously, not Sean Connery. It's got to be directed by Michael Bay, though. I feel like you need to have him come back to do it. Interesting. Would you like a breakdown remake with Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams? That's from Acres of Movies. I feel like they do breakdown twice? No. No, but that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I like how you went with Michelle Williams. She's one of my favorite actresses. So Acres of Movies says, I own Thermometer from the Train DVD. Interested to know what features for the new one. Yeah, we will be getting into that. Actually, you know what? We could do Kino next. Why not? We'll do Kino next. I know a lot of people are fans of Kino. Um, and we can talk about Kino titles right now. Why not? Let's see. I heard that some people that you guys in the comments start talking about Mystery Men, which I happen to actually have right next to me. um, Mystery Men. Oh man, hold on, I almost knocked over everything. So I've got the Kino 4K of Mystery Men right next to me. This came out in 1999. I was about 12 years old when this came out, and I remember going to the cinema to watch this. My uncle took me and a bunch of us kids to go see this, and we had a local movie theater that had opened up, I think, in the 90s, and it was a first run, showing new releases and stuff like that. It wouldn't be until years later that it became a rundown, shabby, like, second run theater, and I think they actually knocked it down because it just they were just running to the ground. But I remember going there and seeing this movie in 1999, and it had been so many years since I'd seen it, and rewatching the movie, brought back a lot of memories, a lot of memories. Interesting movie. It's kind of a parody of comic book hero movies before comic book hero movies became really, really popular. It's both a parody as well as an homage, as well as its own thing. It's a truly unique film. The making of this movie is also kind of fascinating too, which is they get into in a lot of the special features in here, specifically when it came to Ben Stiller's involvement in the film and whatnot. Because I think this movie was directed by Kinka Usher, who was I think he was a commercial director. He directed commercials or music videos, one of the two. Either way, Mystery Men. I love the fact that they decided to put that out in 4K a few years ago. Let's see. This this is an interesting question. Then we'll talk about Kino. You run Marvel. It's the 1990s. You get for the Hulk Ray Liotta, Wesley Snipes, or Rick Moranis, or David Strathairn. You couldn't pick more different actors. Ray Liotta would be an interesting Hulk. I Yeah, Ray Liotta would be an interesting Hulk because he's played the roles where he's gotten, like, super super angry. I couldn't imagine any of those other Wesley Snipes could do it too, but Ray Liotta, Ray Liotta. But um let's move on to Kino. Let me go over to Kino's Facebook page and scroll down. I was running for some reason really really late, so I didn't set up any of the tabs to be prepared for anything. um, I had a I usually don't do this, but I had a doctor's appointment earlier today. Threw off my whole schedule for the whole day. Um, I usually, when it comes to doing chasing labels, this is like my big thing of the day. So I like to, like, not inconvenience me at all, so that I, like, fully engaged and prepared for it. But of course, that's not the case. So let me go. So I'm here on Kino's um, Facebook page. So first off, I've talked about this movie before because I think they announced this a long time ago, or someone else announced it. There's this silent movie called T Min that came out in 1918. This movie is like 418 minutes long. It's massive. I've never watched it because it's 418 minutes long. I That's a lot of time to dedicate towards one movie. And I believe It's episodic, so there's 8 episodes. It's directed by Louis Foulade. Now, Louis Foulade was a prominent director in the silent era, and Louis Foulade there was a whole Eureka box set of Louis Foulade films. It's now out of print, and I'm kicking myself for not getting it because it's tough to track down now, and I really wish I had gotten it. Really, really wish I had gotten it, but this is coming April 14th. It's called Team Min from 1918. It's it says yeah, it's a 6-hour epic. Begins as adventure seeker Jacques Tati returns to Nice from Indochina with his bride to be, T Min, and a cryptic book which provides clues to the whereabouts of hidden treasure. Aided by his whimsical manservant Placide, Jacques races to decipher the mysteries of the book while foiling the efforts of the mercenaries, kidnappers, hypnotists eager to rob him of the treasure, and who are willing to use T Min as a pawn in their sinister schemes. So if you want a 6-hour epic from 1918, Kino's got you covered. Next is, I think, another one of their Kino Cult releases. Yes, this is Kino Cult release number 47. This is a co-release from Kino as well as Dark Force Entertainment. Now, this is the movie The House of Seven Corpses. You can imagine what this is about, but we'll go through it anyway. A mind-bending thriller from the golden age of occult cinema, The House of Seven Corpses follows a crew filming a horror movie at a crumbling mansion once home to a cabal of Satanists. When the actors speak incantations from the Bardo Thodal, strange incidents befall the production, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Um, you can guess what happens. So there's this film crew that's filming this movie at this place where Satanists used to do all kinds of rituals and incantations and all kind of stuff. They find some things that they're not supposed to do, they get into, and they speak some ancient words, try to reenact these rituals, and all hell breaks loose. We've seen that before. So this movie came out in 19 when did this come out? 1973. So this was about what, a decade before Evil Dead. Sounds like Evil Dead. If you've never seen the movie Evil Dead, they find this cabin in the woods. There's a Book of the Dead in there. They speak the words, and crazy shit happens. That's and launched a franchise that's been beloved for decades and to horror fans. Yeah, it's gonna be so. That's kind of interesting how we've been kind of be doing the same thing over and over again. But this release of Kino Cult number 47, The House of Seven Corpses, has an audio commentary by author and film historian David Del Val and producer-director David DeCoto, audio commentary by associate producer Gary Kent, archival interview with actor John Carradine, Dim Mob, Dave, and Joe Savage Tracks Volume 5 featuring Randy Coniata, theatrical trailer, and there's a slipcover. So that is The House of Seven Corpses. Next, switching things up massively, is Hold That Ghost. This is an Abbott and Costello movie. It's an Abbott and Costello movie. This is from 1941, and this is coming out March 28th on 4K UHD. It says the third Abbott and Costello movie of 1941, and perhaps their funniest of all time, was rushed into release to capitalize on the wild success of their first two starring films, Buck Privates and In the Navy. In Hold That Ghost, Bud and Luke come into an inheritance, an abandoned roadhouse formerly belonging to a rubbed-out mobster. This choice piece of real estate is also supposedly the hiding place for the mobsters' illicit loot. When they arrive to claim the inheritance, all mayhem breaks loose. People are mysteriously murdered. Lights go on and off. Walls go inside and out. Moans and shrieks are heard, and ghosts run rampant in this delightful horror comedy classic. It's Abbott and Costello. If you know Abbott and Costello, chances are you've seen this movie, or you own this movie, or you want to see it, or you want to own it. Classic Abbott and Costello comedy. It's a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. New audio commentary by author/film historian Alan K. Rody. New audio commentary by film historian Sam Deegan. And a theatrical trailer. So that's some fun stuff. Next, we have a more modern movie. By modern, I mean 2013, which is now 13 years ago. Please excuse me while I sit here in dumb silence as I reminisce on the fact that 2013 is 13 years ago. 13 years ago. Felt like only yesterday. Oh man, I feel like only yesterday. Um, Felt like only yesterday. Um, Goodness gracious. There's this movie called Mindscape that came out in 2013. Now, this movie sounds more interesting on paper than it is in actual form, if you will. Uh, let's see. Let me go through it with you guys here. So, this movie stars Mark Strong, Brian Cox, Thaisa Farmiga, um, and it's a psychological thriller. It's called Mindscape, also known as Anna, and so this I don't know, the movie's not kind of fully fleshed out. Well, it is, but so Mark Strong plays this he's basically like a mind detective where he has this ability that he can go into people's minds and look at their memories. So it's kind of playing on the idea of Minority Report, something like that. And he has been hired to um kind of figure out what's going on with this character of Anna, portrayed by Thaisa Farmiga, and his boss is played by Brian Cox. He's the one who kind of sets up these um, cases that these mind detectives have to go on. This whole idea of the mind detectives isn't really well fleshed out in the movie or really well explained of how they have these abilities, why they have these abilities, any of that. That's it's not really fleshed out in. But anywho, he gets hooked into this case and he kind of gets himself too far and too deep into it, to the point where things start becoming a little weird and a little wonky, if you will. And he's trying to figure out why this young girl is acting the way she's acting, whether it's due to past events in her life, whether it's due to trauma. What is this mystery behind this girl and why is she the way she is? And that's kind of the movie. It's got nice twists and turns, and it keeps you engaged the whole time. The movie only runs like 99 minutes long, so it's a little nice, decently paced movie. It doesn't drag things out too much. But but yeah, but yeah, it's fine. I watched it. I think last night. I watched it last night. There's nothing in the way of special features or even a time frame of when it's coming out. It just says coming soon on Blu-ray. That is it. A next one is kind of a big one. Not a big one. It's one that's curious to me. It's curious to me because it's the movie Femme Fatale, the Brian De Palma film starring Antonio Banderas and Rebecca Romaine. And the reason why it's interesting to me is because Femme Fatale just got a Blu-ray release within the last couple of years. Yeah, Femme Fatale got a Blu-ray release in 2022, and I remember that because it's one of the first episodes we talked about here on Chasing Labels. I think we talked about Femme Fatale because I remember. No, it wasn't one of the first. We had already been doing it for like a year at that point, but we talked about it on Chasing Labels. I remember Shout Factory had put it out. Shout Factory had put out Femme Fatale, and let me see if that Blu-ray is now out of print. I mean, it's gotta be. Yeah, it's out of print. So so the Blu-ray comes out in May of 2022, and by 2026, it's now out of print. And I think this went out of print like last year. So they had a very short release window in terms of owning the license for this movie. And that seems to be the case a few times where these distribution licenses that these companies get are not, they're not for all time. They're for a couple of years essentially. Um, I've seen some deals that are like 5 years, some deals that are 3 years, some deals that are more or less than that. But I guess in this case, it was a short time. It's a short licensing deal. Um, but Femme Fatale is a 2002 film directed by, like I said, Brian De Palma. Of course, did Dress to Kill, Scarface, The Untouchables, Snake Eyes, Carlito's Way. We'll talk about another Brian De Palma film later on called Hi Mom that Radiance is putting out and that Arrow had put out a few years ago in a Brian De Palma, Robert De Niro box set. But Femme Fatale it's a really cool, like, neo-noir movie starring, like I said, Antonio Banderas and Rebecca Romaine, 2 very beautiful looking people. So a woman tries to straighten out her life even as her past as a con woman comes back to haunt her. Guess that's the general premise. That's the one IMDb gives us. Uh, but yeah, there's no date on this yet. It just says coming soon on 4K UHD. So stay tuned for that. I talked about this movie last time, The Man Who Reclaimed His Head. I think I talked about it last time. Let me check my notes because I know I skipped over a few of these. I do want to talk about what Acres of Movies asked about, and that will be um, where are my keynote notes? Oh, there they are. Um, Throw Mama from the Train. Let's talk about Throw Mama from the Train, directed by the great Danny DeVito. I saw this when I was a young boy. So my introduction to Danny DeVito was in Twins. And when I was a kid, I was a big fan of Danny DeVito. Even to this day, I'm still a big fan of Danny DeVito. Who isn't? Let's be honest. I see him. I see him every day actually, because he's doing Jersey Mike's sandwiches commercials now. And hey, get your money any way you can. Speaking of Danny DeVito, I heard that they're starting production on an 18th season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, an 18th season. So he will be on our screens. What's interesting to me is that I don't think I've ever met anybody who's not been a fan of Danny DeVito. And he's done acting, he's done directing, he's done writing, and I think uh, he directed this movie, if I do recall. Let's see. So, Throw Mama from the Train. I watched this on VHS when I was a kid. I remember renting this from our local video store at the time, and yeah, uh, I've always been a fan of this movie. Screen greats Danny DeVito and Billy Crystal are homicidally hilarious, and Anne Ramsey is hysterically frightful in an Oscar-nominated performance in this wickedly screwball comedy directed by Danny DeVito. A long-suffering mama's boy Owen, Danny DeVito has a mother portrayed by Anne Ramsey, who's a cross between Quasimodo and the Wicked Witch of the West. Owen's friend Larry, Billy Crystal, has female problems of his own. An ex-wife who stole his novel and made it a bestseller. Can these hapless males help eliminate each other's problems? Excuse me. Um, what is interesting is that this is basically a remake of Strangers on a Train. And I did obviously as a kid, I had never seen Strangers on a Train before. Keep in mind, I was like elementary school aged when I saw this in the 90s. So I didn't know anything about movies or anything. I just kind of recognized people like, hey, I know him from this, I know her from that. So watching this at that time, I didn't know that reference until obviously as an adult, I've seen Strangers on a Train several times. I know the premise, so this all makes sense now. So basically, Danny DeVito and um Billy Crystal are gonna swap murders. Gonna swap murders. Um, Danny DeVito is gonna get rid of the ex-wife of Billy Crystal, and Billy Crystal is going to get rid of Danny DeVito's overbearing mother. At least that's the plan. And of course, things don't go according to plan as they usually should, and kind of things go from there. Hilarity and comedy go from there. Um, but yeah, it's great. But getting to uh, Acres of Movies is question about the special features. So if you're listening, Acres of Movies, here we go. So disc one is the 4K UHD disc, brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of a 35mm original camera negative. A new audio commentary by Hats Off Entertainment, Joe Ramone. And then on the second disc, which is the Blu-ray disc, it's got the movie, of course. It's got the commentary, and it's got a new interview with cinematographer Barry Sonnenfeld. It's got a Crafting a Dark Comedy featurette, Why Do You Hate Your Mother featurette, The Night Was featurette, 4 deleted scenes, and the theatrical trailer. So some new stuff, and I think some carryover stuff, I'm assuming, from the DVD. And also, there was a Blu-ray of this a few years ago that I never got. I should have. I don't need to get it now. Hey, there was a Blu-ray from 2012 put out by MGM. Let me just take a quick gander over at that. Yeah, it carries over all of the special features from that Blu-ray release. Yeah. Yep, carries over all of that plus some new stuff. So that's good to know. That's good to know. Let me see. Um, let me see what else I have in my notes for Kino. I think that was it. Yes, for Kino. Let me check the comments here because I know everybody's talking up a storm and I want to get in on some of the stuff. Um, that would be nuts. So Acres of Movies throws a little something cool here. If there was a Speed 3, I'd like Buster Keaton to come back from the dead and be like 35 and play the son of Dennis Hopper. Keanu and Sandra on honeymoon bus in India, and he takes it over. Sure, why not? Buster Keaton as a villain? Why not? Throw that throw that into the mix. Um, let's see. I know there was some talk here about the Beatles movies. Yeah, Acres of Movies says, I'm hearing that the Beatles movies, they're going to decide to condense them and not make them 4 movies. Um, I don't, yeah, that was, who's, I think it's Sam Mendes who's doing those. I initially thought it was Danny Boyle that was doing those, but no, it's Sam Mendes. Danny Boyle already did his Beatles movie, and it's called Only Yesterday, and it's an interesting movie. Interesting movie. Uh, I mean, to do 4 feature-length films and then release them all at once and have people have to watch 4 movies in the theater seems a bit ambitious, to say the least. I don't know if that's what they're actually doing, but even to ask people to watch 4 movies is a lot. Is a lot. Even if it's 4 biopics about the Beatles and whatnot, and each movie's a different Beatle, I kind of get it. But that's still a lot to ask for people, especially in this day and age. Um, let's see. Let's see some other comments here. That is interesting. JB44 says, granted, we're probably not far off from a Speed 3, like given that all the capabilities of AI, there's a lot of talk about it, about AI. I don't know if any of you saw Roger Avery, the co-writer of Pulp Fiction, and director, writer, etc., etc. Like he's got 3 like AI movies in the works. And people are kind of freaking out about that. And there's a lot of like fighting and going back and forth about merits, demerits, hate, like what's going on. We're living in a very interesting time, very interesting time to say the least. Let's see. That is underrated. Let's see. Hmm, that's interesting. Okay, let's see where else we want to go. So we talked about Warner Archive. We talked about Kino. There's a lot of imprint releases. Um, a lot of imprint releases. I don't know if I want to go to imprint quite yet. I may go to Radiance. Yeah, let's go to Radiance now while I've got the energy because I really want to talk passionately about Radiance. Because there's currently a Radiance Films sale going on at Barnes and Noble, I believe until March 9th. And I already have a cart. I have a cart set up on barnesandnoble.com of like 5 titles I want to get. I've got a whole I've said this a bunch of times for anybody listening, re-listening. I'm sorry if you've heard this before, but I've got a shelf of all the Radiance titles I have so far. And my goal is still, once I get like numbers 1 through 50 all collected together, I want to do a video just on that Radiance shelf. I'm still missing 2 out of print box sets, and for those of you who collect Radiance, if something goes out of print or is going to go out of print, buy it as soon as you can, because it gets very expensive and gets really hard to get, and it's a pain to do. It really, really is. I'm missing oh, what am I missing? I'm missing World Noir box set number 1, and I'm missing was the End of Civilization box set. I'm missing those 2. Those are the 2 big ones I'm missing, and I've gotta track them down. I've gotta track them down, but speaking of Radiance, we've got some titles from them, and we've got, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new title announcements. Their next title announcements new title announcement will be March 11th. It's at the top of their website, but I wanna check to see which month they're in, because 'cause they're usually ahead of everyone. These are I think these are their May titles. Yes, these are their May titles. So they're already in May. I can't even think about March right now, let alone thinking about May. But we have the movies Taxidermia, which is a Hungarian film. We have the movie Le Professionnel, which is a movie starring Jean-Paul Belmondo. We have the movie Hi Mom, which is a Brian De Palma film. We have Jean Le Pucelle, which is a two-part, damn near 6-hour epic of Joan of Arc. And then we've got Aesthetics of a Bullet. So I was able to see Taxidermia, Le Professionnel, and Hi Mom. The Jean La Pucelle, like I said, is a damn near 6-hour epic. I didn't have the time to go through that. That is currently streaming on the Criterion channel. And Aesthetic of a Bullet, I wanted to watch, like really, really wanted to watch. Couldn't find it streaming anywhere. So luckily, this Blu-ray is indeed coming out. But let's start with Taxidermia, because Taxidermia it's a Radiance release, but it's from another label. It's from Chasm Films. So Chasm Films is a label dedicated to curating a catalog of underseen, underappreciated, and underground world genre cinema. So this is a Hungarian film, and when did this come out? Let me check the date on this. This is also an oddball movie. This came out in 2006, so from Hungary. Uh, so in Hungary during World War II, Vendo Marazgavani indulges his outlandish sexual fantasies while stationed at an isolated military outpost. Decades later, his illegitimate child, Kalman Balatoni, has become a professional speed eater who dreams of consuming his way to fame and fortune. Instead, he grows old and immobile, cared for by his son, Lajaska Balatoni, a taxidermist determined to leave behind a great work of art when he dies. Written and directed by perhaps Hungary's greatest working filmmaker, György Palfi, Taxidermia blends body horror, black comedy, and astonishing aesthetic beauty to paint a fascinating portrait of Hungary from the 1940s to the 21st century. So this movie is told in 3 acts, starting off in World War II, then moving on from there, and then the third act is in more modern day, and you basically get this kind of thematic portrait, I guess, Hungarian history, if you will. This movie's gross. If you're not squeamish about like David Cronenbergian level of body horror, you'll be okay. But if you are not, if body horror is not your thing, if trauma body horror is not your thing, if a lot of vomit in this movie, a lot of vomit, vomit, body parts, organs, blood, everything. This movie, like I said, is gross and disgusting. But if you're okay with all of that, I think you'll be good with this movie. Um, yeah, it's quite a movie. It's quite a movie. It's surreal too. Um, it's very, very surreal. Um, yeah. Let's see. So what we have here for special features? Let's see. World premiere on Blu-ray, high definition digital transfer, new interview with director Georgi Palfi, new audio commentary with writer and film historian Michael Brook, our buddy Michael Brook. The making of Taxidermia, Shaman vs. Icarus, um, I believe these are all short films. Shaman vs. Icarus, The Fish. Yeah. So those are two short films. You have Erdo, which is a music video. You have boy, I cannot speak Hungarian. Geza Sklosi's art book, deleted scenes, trailer, and limited edition booklet featuring new writings and stuff like that. Limited to 3,000 copies. This is Region B locked. Okay, so this is a Region B locked release. So that is Taxidermy. Then we have Le Professionnel, which is a movie starring Jean Paul Belmondo. And someone said this on an episode of Chasing Labels in the past that Jean Paul Belmondo is kind of the Jason Statham of his time. And the more and more I see of Jean Paul Belmondo, the more and more I'm inclined to agree with that statement. I didn't realize how big of an action star he was during his career. I just didn't think that at all. I didn't think um, that was his thing. But he definitely was an action star. And this movie is an action film. Uh, so, when his orders to kill an African president changed at the last minute, French secret agent Jocelyn Beaumont uh, isn't recalled but betrayed by his superiors, who denounce him to the enemy as an assassin. After 2 arduous years in a foreign jail, Joss escapes back to his homeland with vengeance on his mind. Determined to carry out his original mission, he lets his former bosses know of his plans, using his spy skills to taunt them and to evade the brutal Commissar Rosen. So yeah, it's a revenge movie. Think of it kind of as like it's like Jean Paul Belmondo as Jason Bourne. It's which is interesting. Um, he's an assassin who's sent on a mission, and they decide to like, oh, we don't need you to do this mission anymore. But instead of like bringing him in safely, they just leave him out to dry. They just basically turn on him, uh, for no real reason. And then he spends time in prison, escapes the prison, and is back and ready to get revenge. That's the movie. Um, I rather enjoyed it. I rather enjoyed it. Let me get through the special features. So, high definition digital transfer, uncompressed dual mono PCM audio, new interview with critic and author Jeanette Vincendo about Jean Paul Belmondo's stardom, new interview with film score expert Lovely John about Ennio Morricone's iconic theme, um, archival television interview with Jean Paul Belmondo, archival television interview with Rene Chateau, Belmondo's agent, producer, and associate. Audio commentary by film historians Howard S. Berger, Steve Mitchell, and Nathaniel Thompson. Good package of special features there. Um, you get the original French trailer, you get newly improved English subtitles, reversible sleeve art. There's a limited edition booklet as well, limited to 3,000 copies, and this is also Region B locked. So this is Le Professionnel. And then next we've got Brian De Palma's film Hi Mom, starring Robert De Niro. So he and Robert De Niro did a series of movies in the late 60s, early 70s. Obviously, this would be before Robert De Niro worked with Martin Scorsese, before he was in Godfather Part 2, before he was in Taxi Driver. This was early Martin Scorsese, early um, Robert De Niro stuff. So if you're a big fan of Robert De Niro, you want to check this out. I kind of recommend it, but it is an oddball of a movie. This is Brian De Palma's probably most political film. It's politically charged, in every sense of the word, and it's kind of all over the place in that regard. So, aspiring adult filmmaker John Rubin, portrayed by Robert De Niro, returns from a tour of Vietnam and, armed with his film camera, attempts to find meaning and inspiration in the counterculture of New York in 1970. Rubin graduates from surreptitiously filming his neighbors, to joining a militant black experimental theater group before flirting with full-scale domestic terrorism in this hilariously madcap satire that has still retained its outrageous power to shock 50 years after initially stunning American audiences. It is an odd. It's a movie that's all over the place stylistically, plot wise. Robert De Niro's characters getting into all of this counterculture mischief and all of this counterculture stuff, and the whole movie is definitely a commentary on Vietnam, the home front, on civil rights, on just the state of the United States in 1970. And yeah, it's a wild, wild political ride of a movie. For special features here, we have a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, uh, presented in Dolby Vision HDR. This is a 4K release. Should have mentioned that. 4K UHD and Blu-ray presentation of the movie, uncompressed mono audio commentary with writer Travis Woods, interview with critic Ellen E. Jones, Dionysus in '69, an experimental theater production of Euripides, filmed by Brian De Palma. That runs 85 minutes long. Wow. Archival interview with co-writer Charles Hirsch from 2018, and that's it. There's a booklet here as well. There's reversible sleeve art too, and this is also Region B locked. Okay. Like I said, there was a Robert De Niro and Brian De Palma box set from a couple of years ago, I think from 2018, um, that that had this in it from Arrow Video. Let me just check up on that. I think it's called De Niro and De Palma, the early films, and it's been out of print for a couple of years now. That movie, that box set had The Wedding Party, Greetings, and Hi Mom. Let me see if I tried to see if I could find any special features for it, and yes, there are. So, yeah, so this has different features. It's got it's got I think the only thing is that carries over is the Charles Hirsch interview. I think that's about it. I think that's the only thing that carries over. Anywho, I was good. Anywho, that's Hi Mom, the Brian De Palma film from 1970, starring Robert De Niro. Um, let's move on to Jean Lapucelle. 15th century France, tasked by visions of saints to help free her country from the English, a young peasant girl leaves her humble home to meet the heir to the French throne. Determined to lead his troops into battle, she ends the siege on the city of Orleans and accompanies the triumphant king to his coronation in Reims. Injured during subsequent battles, she is soon captured by the enemy who put her faith on trial. The mythical figure of Joan of Arc comes to vivid life in this grounded and moving adaptation by Jacques Rivette, an epic two-part portrait starring a magnetic Sandrine Bonnaire, who was in Anos Amores and Vagabond. A 4K restoration of each film from the original negatives presented on 2 discs. Interview with co-writer Pascal Bonitzer. Archival interview with Jacques Rivette and Sandrine Bonnaire. Interview with critic and author Beatrice Loiza. Original French theatrical trailers. And that is it. Oh, reversible sleeve, booklet, and all that stuff. This is region free. This is region A, B, and C. From 1994, Jacques Rivette film from 1994. Now, they've put out a couple of Jacques Rivette films already, so this goes right along with that. But like I said, this is a 2-part epic that's nearly 6 hours long. Then last but certainly not least is a movie I wish I could have watched, but I could not find, and that is Aesthetic of a Bullet, filmed by Sado Nakajima. Let's see. A Yakuza gang selects a good-for-nothing street vendor to stir up trouble in enemy territory. With a flashy suit, a gun, and a pocket full of money, he feels like a king, but when trouble comes knocking, he realizes that waving a gun and pulling the trigger are 2 very different things. After the major studios refused to finance it, director Sado Nakajima, who did the Godfather trilogy, the Japanese Godfather trilogy, which Radiance is also released, took this project to New Wave bastion, the Art Theater Guild, with a deeply impressive performance by Sunehiko Watazi that predates Robert De Niro's indelible turn as Travis Bickle in Scorsese's Taxi Driver by 3 years. Aesthetics of a Bullet is a lost gem of 1970s Japanese cinema ripe for rediscovery. Yeah, this is something I definitely want to get. Let's see. Excuse me. High definition digital transfer, uncompressed mono PCM audio, newly filmed appreciation by filmmaker Robert Schwentke, new interview with filmmaker Kazuyoshi Komakiri, archival interview with Sato Nakajima, and then the trailer. Reversible sleeve, booklet, and this is region A and B. Right on. So that is everything from Radiance. These are their May titles. So we have Taxidermia, Le Professionnel, Hi Mom, Jean Lapucelle, and Aesthetic of a Bullet. All right. Let's see. Um, okay. Let me where we go? You know what? I'll go tackle Imprint now. So Imprint had three separate release announcements, uh, and all within the last 2 weeks. They are going full tilt nuts over there. I don't know what's going on. It seems like I talk about them in every single episode because every single episode they have announcements to do. So they have their Imprint Asia bundle pack. They have their Imprint Films April uh, genre hard boxes bundle, and they've got Imprint Films their April Neo Noir bundle as well. So they've got, like I said, three separate releases, and it's been a lot to talk about. So let's start from earliest on. So they are putting out this neo noir uh, group of films with Dark Blue, State of Grace, After Dark Neo Noir Cinema Collection number 4. So let's just take these three releases and talk about them. Dark Blue is the movie starring Kurt Russell, and it's a movie about the corrupt cop during uh, the Rodney King beating and trial of the early '90s. This movie stars Kurt Russell, Ving Rhames, Brendan Gleeson, directed by Ron Shelton. It's a tense tale of corruption and obsession, packed with explosive genre and twisted police brutality. Set in Los Angeles Police Department in 1992, Dark Blue is a thriller that takes place just days before the acquittal of 4 white officers in the beating of the black motorist Rodney King and the subsequent LA riots. In this racially charged climate, the LAPD's elite special investigation squad is assigned a quadruple homicide as they work the case. Detective Eldon Kurt Russell tutors SIS rookie Bobby Scott Speedman in realities of police intimidation and corruption. So you get a little training day vibe in here. Yeah, that's kind of one of the major vibes I got from the movie as well. Not only that, but it's an interesting movie commenting on police corruption, which is kind of more appropriate now than ever before, specifically because of what's been going on over the last few years. And this is a movie I've always known about, and I've seen it in stores on DVD, on Blu-ray, and I've just never watched it. I never bought it. I never watched it. I always wanted to do so because there's been a lot of movies with these corrupt cop characters. You know, you've got Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, which is the movie starring Nicolas Cage. You got the movie Rampart starring Woody Harrelson, which I always thought was kind of underrated. And then you've had other movies like that as well. Like I just mentioned Training Day and stuff. Um yeah, yeah. So for those of you who have seen the movie, you probably are you know of it. Um but let's see what we have here for special features. So this is let's see, limited edition 4K UHD and Blu-ray 2-disc hard box with an exclusive 60-page hardback booklet plus hours of special features. Um, let's see. Disc one is obviously the movie, and Dolby Vision presentation on 4K UHD, restored from the original 35 millimeter camera negative. New audio commentary by film historians Elaine Silver and Jim Orsini. Interesting. Audio commentary by director Ron Shelton. Theatrical trailers, and then disc two, you've got the audio commentaries. New interview with director Ron Shelton. New interview with producers Cody Chubb and David Blocker. New interview with actress Lolita Davidovich. Interview with composer Terrence Blanchard. Code Blue archival making a featurette. By the book archival interview with the art director and production designer and costume designer. Necessary Force archival interview with technical advisor Bob Souza. Behind the scenes photo gallery, and then trailers and TV spots. Interesting. Nothing with Kurt Russell. I kind of get it. Usually, you can never get these stars uh, to come and talk about their movies. um, so you have the movie State of Grace, which I watched this movie in 2017, and I honestly don't remember anything about it whatsoever. Featuring an all-star cast of 90s icons, including Sean Penn, Ed Harris, Gary Oldman, Robin Wright, John Turturro, and John C. Reilly. Director Phil Jono has personally overseen this 4K restoration and grading, giving the project his seal of approval. Hell's Kitchen is a tough New York City neighborhood on Manhattan's west side. Renowned for its brawling, hard-drinking Irish residents, this traditionally ethnocentric and fiercely loyal community is now threatened by the Italian mafia, outside developers, and ruthless new generation of Irish gangsters. When Terry returns to the neighborhood after a 10-year absence, he gets involved with mad childhood friend Jackie, Gary Oldman, Jackie's gang leader brother Ed Harris, and rekindles his love affairs with Jackie's sister, portrayed by Robin Wright, complicating matters Terry's secret mission. Written by playwright Dennis McIntyre. Oh, and Ennio Morricone did the score for it. I vaguely remember this movie. Like, I'm completely blanking on it entirely. And I've seen it. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but I am. Um, yeah, yeah. What's interesting is uh, so one of our commenters here says, I've only seen the ending of State of Grace. I honestly don't even remember the ending. I don't know why I'm blocking out the movie entirely. Needless to say, I have to rewatch it again. Oh, this is good to know. Also, one of our commenters said, let's see. Oh, Werner Herzog never wanted the title Bad Lieutenant. That's interesting. I had, yeah, that is very interesting. I'm curious what he wanted his title to be. Was it supposed to be just Port of Call New Orleans or something like that? Um, It's interesting that Acres of Movies you're saying this. Acres of Movies says, also, I want Run 1991 and Eve of Destruction 1991. Give me Orion, MGM, etc. Make deals with me. What I've been seeing lately, actually, is MGM titles are getting standalone Blu-ray releases, like made-on-demand Blu-ray releases. It's some deeper catalog stuff from that time frame, from like the 80s and 90s. And I find that fascinating because also MGM has been making deals with distributors as well. Let's see, do I have any? I don't think I have any titles around me, but I've been seeing that quite frequently. So MGM's, I've talked about this for years. MGM's catalog has been all over the place. Obviously, MGM is now owned primarily, I think owned entirely by Amazon. They're owned by Amazon, so you'd have to fight with Amazon over to get the distribution rights, which I guess some companies have. Also, like older MGM stuff is in the hands of Warner Brothers. So I'm thinking of like Gone with the Wind. I'm thinking of Wizard of Oz, which I don't think that was a MGM title, but you know what I'm saying. Older MGM titles are with other companies. Newer MGM titles are with Amazon. Some have been licensed out distribution wise. Some haven't. Some are being put out by MGM themselves. It's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. Like I said, I'm no expert at this. There are much better people within the collecting community space that do podcasts and do YouTube stuff that know these things a lot better than I do. I'm mostly guessing at a lot of this. Let's see. Um, where was I? Oh yeah, dark. Oh, just dark. Okay, that makes sense. One of our commenters here says just Port of Call. That's a better title. It's a better title because Abel Ferrara already had a movie called Bad Lieutenant, and Bad Lieutenant, uh, Port of Call is not really a remake of it, like at all. It's a completely different movie. Oh, he's never seen the Abel Ferrara film. There you go. And I was gonna say, that's why it's not a remake of it because he never saw it. Um, that makes sense. Acres the movies ask why no George Washington biopic yet? Will Glenn Powell be a good George, or who do that best? So there's been people who have portrayed George Washington before on in movies and TV series. I remember specifically the John Adams HBO series based off of the David McCullough book. I believe David Morse portrayed George Washington in there briefly because it's about John Adams. Um, but I believe David Morse portrayed him in that. Um, so it's very interesting. And I think also Jeff Daniels portrayed him in. Oh my goodness, this was a TV miniseries called Crossing. I think this came out when I was in high school 20 years ago, called Crossing. I think it was on A&E. I don't know if anybody remembers the channel A&E, the cable channel. They started doing their own original programming in the 2010s. They tried to get into doing things like AMC was doing, and FX and all these other cable channels started making their own original programming. Sci-Fi Channel did it as well, but they tried it with A&E, and they came up with a few good series actually. Bates Motel, was on A&E, and I don't think anybody talks about that. That show, which was a modern day television version of Psycho, starring Vera Farmiga as Norma Bates and was it Freddie Highmore as Norman Bates. Vera Farmiga is a great actress to me. I think she's excellent, and she was great in that series. I actually really like that series a lot. Olivia Cooke, who is now in the Game of Thrones show House of the Dragon, she was in that series. So that's where she got her start from. See, once you get me going on television, I can go off. Yeah, used to love Bates Motel. JB44 says used to love Bates Motel. Um, I've been trying to collect those Blu-rays for years. It's one of my biggest, and it's not that they're not available. I've just been lazy in doing it. I've got the first 3 seasons. I think I have the first. I have to check. I think I have the first 2 seasons. Either way, um, I think it's a super underrated show. Um, one of our commenters says, yeah, Havitek Christodon says, I used to watch A&E a bit. Me too. Me too. They used to mostly put like like educational stuff on there, like documentaries and things like that, the documentary programs. But then they started branching out. They tried to get into the original TV program game. Tried to jump on that bandwagon, if you will. Um, and like a lot of other networks, they just ran out of steam. They just ran out of steam. Um, yeah, remember there was a time where TNT did original programming, and they kind of ran out of steam. But yeah, so what did I talk about? No, I didn't talk about. So let me go over the special features for State of Grace. Let me get back on track here. So Disc 1, 4K UHD. This is their big hard box deluxe edition. 4K UHD, Dolby Vision presentation, restored from the original 35mm camera negative, audio commentary with director Phil Jono and film historian Nick Redman. State of Grace had a Twilight Time release. That's where this comes from, because Nick Redman used to, I think, co-run Twilight Time, and then he passed, and then that label kind of went away. The disc 2 is obviously has a Blu-ray version of the movie. Or same audio commentary. It's got a new interview with Phil Jono, new interview with cinematographer Jeff Cronenweth, interview with film and music historian Daniel Schweiger on the Ennio Morricone score, locations in Hell Kitchen featurette, and then potentially more new things to come. There's also a 60-page booklet in there as well. Then now we get to the Neo Noir Collection 4 box set. Now they've been coming out with these for years, so every once in a while they come out with one of these box sets. I remember when the first one came out, it was revelatory. Finally, someone was paying attention to 90s neo noir, putting 90s neo noir on Blu-ray. Thank you. So we've got not four movies. You have one, two, three, four, five, six movies. We have David Lynch's Wild at Heart. All right. We have Unlawful Entry, which is worldwide first on 4K. So we have a 4K in there. We have The Getaway. We have Mulholland Falls, and we have Freeway, and then City of Industry. Now, for the sake of my sanity, we're not going to go through all of these individually, simply because I would lose my mind. I would be here till the cows come home. I'll say this. Wild at Heart had a Blu-ray release many, many years ago from Shout Factory. And actually, it's had a few releases. Hold on, let me check. So it's had a Twilight Time release, and it's got a collector's release from Shout Factory from 2018. That's the one I have. It's been released a couple of times in several countries, but this is the one I have. I'm just curious. It's got the one that I have, the collector's edition I have from Shout Factory, has got decent features, but I think this one has new features. So Wild at Heart, new audio commentary by producer Monty Montgomery, new interview with actor Willem Dafoe, new interview with editor Dwayne Dunham, interview with casting director Joanna Ray, and then it's got all of the other special features that were on the previous Blu-ray release. Okay. For those of you who've never seen Wild at Heart, it's kind of like David Lynch's Wizard of Oz in a way. It's kind of nuts. It stars Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage. It's this romance, and they go on this road trip journey together because they kind of run away together. Willem Dafoe plays this character in here. My goodness, Bobby Peru. His name was Bobby Peru, and he looks frightening. He looks frightening. Yeah. Nah, he does. Well, he's kind of all talk in this movie. One of our commenters says a good Lynch film, but Willem Dafoe goes out like a complete chump. Well, I think that's kind of the point, is that he's really all talk and smoke and mirrors. Like, he looks like a bad dude. Like, he looks like a bad dude. Harry Dean Stanton and Diane Ladd are great. Yeah, come on. Harry Dean Stanton is great and everything. Diane Ladd, also great. Yeah, I have the Shout one. Dark Blue features are exciting. They are acres of movies. Yeah, Bobby Peru is amazing. Yeah, his scene, he's like, ooh, he's so slimy. He looks, just the visual. I can't get the visual out of my mind of Willem Dafoe in this movie. Also, Willem Dafoe is a great interview. If you ever seen Willem Dafoe do an interview for any of his movies or anything like that, he's excellent. He just seems like such a cool dude. Also, if you've not seen check out his Criterion Closet video as well on YouTube. It's great. Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors. But let's see what else we've got in here. We have Unlawful Entry. This is the movie with Kurt Russell, Ray Liotta, and Madeline Stowe. A lot of these have all been released before, because I remember talking about this is the one where basically Ray Liotta is like stalking this married couple of Kurt Russell and Madeline Stowe. And yeah, Ray Liotta is so creepy in this movie. This has got a 4K UHD release as well. and it's got a Dolby Vision presentation on 4K UHD, restored from the original camera negative. Audio commentary by director Jonathan Kaplan. And let's see what else is here. There's an archival making of featurette, archival interview with actors Ray Liotta, Madeline Stowe, and director Jonathan Kaplan. Unrestrained realism interview with director Jonathan Kaplan. Too tightly wound inside the filming of Unlawful Entry. Interview with director of photography Jamie Anderson. Symphonic Intruder inside the thriller scores of James Horner. An interview with film music historian Daniel Schweiger. B-roll stuff, archival interviews. So I think that's pretty standard. Then we have The Getaway. Now, this is Roger Donaldson's remake of the movie of was it? Oh, why am I blanking? I'm blanking. It's gotten to that time where I'm starting to blank on things. The Getaway from the 1970s, starring Steve McQueen and Ali McGraw. This is, oh, I'm gonna hate myself. Yep, the Sam Peckinpah movie. Yeah, this is a remake of the Sam Peckinpah movie. Mm, yeah, the light. That reminds me, I need to get a better edition of the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse. Yeah, one of our commenters here, for those of you listening at home, says the Lighthouse is my favorite film by him. Yeah, I've got a just a regular standard Blu-ray. There's been a couple of editions of The Lighthouse. There's one put out by Arrow, and then there's one put out by A24 themselves. And I think there's kind of a difference. I think the Arrow one is the better release, but the A24 one I think has an exclusive something. I forget. Um, yeah, or American Psycho. He's great in American Psycho. He's only in like what 2 or 3 scenes as the like police detective. Excuse me. Um, yeah, of course, Spider-Man. Also, it's Spider-Man No Way Home reprising his role as Green Goblin. I mean, I grew up with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies in 2000 and was it 2001 when Sam Raimi Spider-Man came out? Let's see. No, 2002. Yeah, 2002. I was the ripe age of 15 years old, the perfect age for Spider-Man movie to come out. And yeah, I grew up with those movies, and yeah, that was kind of probably one of the first times I saw him. Yeah, To Live and Die in L.A. There's a good Kino 4K of that I'm still trying to get to add to my William Friedkin collection. Yeah, he's doing great stuff now. Last Temptation of Christ. Also, yeah, he's had such a great career. Even small, even there's the movie Daybreakers, that vampire movie Daybreakers. Imagine Willem Dafoe as a vampire. That's enough to sell it for me. That's enough to sell it for me. But The Getaway, starring Alec Baldwin, Kim Basinger, Michael Madsen, rest in peace. Oh man, Jennifer Tilly's in this film. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in this film. An ex-con and his devoted wife must flee from danger when heist doesn't go as planned. It's got a script from Walter Hill and Amy Holden Jones. Yeah, so it's got an audio commentary by film critic Travis Woods, ambushed scoring The Getaway, interview with the composer Mark Isham, double cross inside The Getaway, interview with author film historian C. Courtney Joyner, archival making a featurette, archival behind the scenes footage, archival interview with actor Alec Baldwin, archival interview with actress Kim Basinger. You've had, then there's Mulholland Falls, which is it's in like an LA neo-noir starring Nick Nolte, Jennifer Connelly, Chaz Palminteri, Michael Madsen, Chris Penn, Melanie Griffin, Andrew McCarthy, Treat Williams, rest in peace, John Malkovich, Bruce Dern, and Rob Lowe. In 1950s Los Angeles, a special crime squad of the LAPD investigates the murder of a young woman. I believe the young woman is portrayed by Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, the only special features are audio commentary by Ryan Verrill and Will Dotson of Someone's Favorite Productions. Our buddy Ryan Verrill. Check out, for those of you still here, for those of you still listening, for those of you still watching, check out the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards for yesterday. Shelf Shock Rewind Awards where they handed out awards for the best of releases of 2025. It was an awesome show, really awesome show. I and Steven are part of the CSC committee, the um, and we got to vote on the best stuff, and there's a community vote as well. It's really great. It was the fourth year that they've done it. So check that out if you haven't already. That's over on the Disconnected YouTube channel. You can find that there. There's also a video essay on neo noir by Dr. Clayton Dillard, film critic, interviewer, author, and columnist for Slant Magazine. Freeway. So Freeway is a sleazy movie. And not sleazy in like a John Waters way. It's sleazy in like a 1990s uh like B movie way. In B movie way. Starring Kiefer Sutherland, Reese Witherspoon, and Brooke Shields. Star in Freeway, a darkly comic you could say so. Darkly comic neo noir and bloody modern retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. So, Kiefer Sutherland plays basically the big bad wolf. Reese Witherspoon is the Little Red Riding Hood. Um, and yeah, that's kind of the movie. Basically, Reese Witherspoon's mother and stepfather get arrested, and she is gonna go to visit her grandmother, or she's gonna go stay with her grandmother. And she hitchhikes on the way there, and she gets picked up by Kiefer Sutherland's character, who's the big bad wolf, this evil like serial killer guy. And yeah, that's the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie, I think the movie completely falls apart. That's just me. But this movie already has a Vinegar Syndrome release, as well as its sequel. Vinegar Syndrome put out the sequel as well, which stars Natasha Lyonne. This has an audio commentary by Matthew Bright, archival interviews with writer-director Matthew Bright, and producer Oliver Stone. And then a bunch of other people, Trailers from Hell, Josh Olson on Freeway, making a featurette, and then City of Industry from 1997. Harvey Keitel, Stephen Dorff, and Timothy Hutton star in this neo-noir thriller City of Industry. So this movie is interesting. So you've got um, Harvey Keitel, Stephen Dorff, and Timothy Hutton pull off this heist where they steal a bunch of jewelry. It's like a bunch of I think jewelry from like a bank or a jeweler. I can't remember. And they get betrayed by Stephen Dorff, and Harvey Keitel is basically hunting him down to get revenge the whole time. Famke Janssen is in this film as well, and yeah, that's the movie. There's an audio commentary by director John Irvin, audio commentary by filmmaker Steve Mitchell, and film critic Nathaniel Thompson. New interview with actor Famke Janssen. There you go. New interview with composer Steven Endelman. Archival making a featurette. Archival interviews. Archival behind the scenes footage, and then trailers. And this whole box set comes with a 126 page hardback booklet. God damn, that's a lot. So moving on from there to their April genre hardcover bundles, and these are 3 box sets. Now I keep saying for my sanity that I'm not going to go through these individually in any great depth, but of course I lie to myself. But this I really am just going to say the movies, and we'll move on. I'll say the movies and I'll move on, because where are we? 2 hours into this. I'm trying to keep the show under 4 hours. That's my plan every single time, and every single time I completely fail. Nice. JB44 says, just recently picked up that To Live and Die in LA Kino 4K. Nicely done. Philip Seymour Hoffman, another favorite actor. Yeah, it was the anniversary of his passing. Was it last month? I think it was. Schenectady in New York is a great work. That's Kaufman, right? Yeah. There's a 4K of that movie in the Sony Pictures Classics 4K collection that they put out a few years ago. I think that's the only way you can get that 4K. is in there. I think there's a lot of 4Ks in that collection you can still only get in that Sony Pictures Classics 4K box set. And it's a really great box set. If you don't own any of those movies, like that's an amazing box set. Um, we need more Famke Janssen. You're damn right. Great actress, great actress. Of course, she was in the the X-Men movies. Well, the first three. And she was also in Rounders. Rounders, underrated movie. Underrated movie. She's of course also in Goldeneye, James Bond Goldeneye. That was probably the first movie I ever saw her in. Um, yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. But where was I? Oh yeah, let me go back to what I was talking about. So we've got 3 box sets here. We've got the Essential Film Noir Collection number 6. Those are movies from 1954 to 1956. We've got Tales of Adventure Collection 10, movies from 1945 to 1965, and we have Tales of the Wild West Collection number 2, movies from 1968 to 1975. Let me just list off the movies that are in the box set, not get too into the weeds when it comes to special features and stuff, because I'm trying to save my sanity here. So I'll just read the blurb. So it says, from the dangerous streets of border towns to the lawless islands of the tropics, no corner of the world is safe from murder, revenge, and greed in the 6th collection of Essential Noir. For true lovers of film noir, come 4 must-see tales from the edges of society. 3 of which are released on Blu-ray for the first time. So we've got the movie Naked Alibi from 1954. We have the movie Ring of Fear, the movie Hell's Island from 1955, and Flame of the Islands. So I've seen all of these movies, and they're good. I think Naked Alibi is the best of the bunch here. Naked Alibi has been released a couple of times. It's no stranger to the world of physical media. I believe Naked Alibi has a Kino release. Let me check. Yeah, Naked Alibi has a Kino release from 2019 and also has an indicator release from 2026. Wait a minute, from April of 2026. No, hold on. Oh no, it was in the Universal Noir box set number 1, which I have up there. So I have it up there. So yeah, so it was in the Universal Noir box set number 1 from Indicator that came out in 2022. So yeah, so it's already been released by Kino. It's already been released by Indicator. But if you're in Australia and you want it, there you go. So that's Naked Alibi, the best of the bunch here. The other 3 have not been released on Blu-ray yet outside of this release. So yeah, let me move on from there. Like I said, I'm going to be good here and not go too into the weeds. So we have Tales of Adventure. I didn't get to see any of these movies, I'll be honest with you. So Tales of Adventure box set number 10. They've done 10 of these already. Let me put it this way. I have box set number 1. Where is it? Oh, where is it? Oh, it's up there too. So with all my other box sets. Sometimes I forget where I put these things. When you have like thousands of movies in your collection, it's tough to keep track of where they are. Let alone keep track of what you have and what you don't have. But it's tough for me to keep track of where things are sometimes. So this has, let's see, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies. Yeah. So it's got The Magic Carpet from 1951, Sudan from 1945, Salome from 1953, and the Sword of Alibaba from 1965. And then it has a bonus film, 1001 Arabian Nights from 1959. Now, I think the only one of these that I've seen is Salome. Let me check to make sure that this is the movie that I'm thinking of. Yeah, because this is directed by William Dieterle, starring Rita Hayworth as Salome. Yes. So I've seen this because I have it, actually. That's why I've seen it. I have Mill Creek put out a really cheap and kind of shoddy collection of Rita Hayworth movies. I need to rebuy like all of them because it's Mill Creek and it's not great. But one of the movies was Salome. And Rita Hayworth is one of my favorite actresses of all time. I've seen like over 20 of her movies. I think I own over 20 of her movies. Gilda's getting a 4K re-release from Criterion that I've got to get. I love Rita Hayworth so damn much. This movie stars Rita Hayworth, Stuart Granger, Charles Lawton, Judith Anderson. Yeah, it it's a biblical epic. Well, no, it's not an epic. It's a biblical film, I should say. Um, yeah, so it's probably I would say it's the best of the bunch as well. Directed by William Dieterle, it says, "In the reign of Tiberius Caesar, the prophet John the Baptist preaches against Galilee's King Herod. When Herod's long-absent stepdaughter Salome arrives after her banishment from Rome, it lights a fuse of manipulation, betrayal, and palace intrigue that changes the world forever." I think she's famously in the Bible. I think she's the one who orders the beheading or requests the beheading of John the Baptist or something like that. Um, Anywho, that's the best of the bunch. No special features on it, unfortunately. But if you have the other adventure Tales of Adventure collections, you may want to get this. It's a little pricey. Damn, I'm just looking at the price here. I'm like, damn, that's a really pricey. But Tales of the Wild West collection number two. I don't remember. Yeah, I talked about number one, but so we've got five card stud, Will Penny, Something Big, The Revengers, and Posse. So I've seen five card stud. I actually have five card stud. Five card stud was put out by one of the sub labels at Vinegar Syndrome. And then Posse I've seen as well because I think Posse was put out by Kino. That movie is directed and starring um Kirk Douglas, also starring Bruce Dern. So I would say Five Card Stud and Posse are both really good. Those would be two I would recommend. Um, Will Penny stars Charlton Heston. And I've always wanted to see Will Penny, and I wanted to see it for this episode so I could talk about it, and I never did. So that's on me. That's totally on me. So moving on from there, we'll go to the um, Imprint Asia bundle pack. Now, two of these I'm just gonna skip over because I've talked about these ad nauseum. The Hard Boiled and The Killer, two John Woo masterpieces. I feel like I've talked about these movies on every episode for the last several months because late last year we got both of them released by Shout Factory through um their Hong Kong Cinema Classics line. Now Arrow is putting out their version of Hard Boiled, and The Killer is coming out. I think they're coming out next month, or let me check actually. But they're coming out soon. Let's see, Hard Boiled. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm waiting for the Arrow release. Actually, Peking Opera Blues, their version from Arrow is coming out next week, either this week or next week. So, yeah, Hard Boiled is coming out March 30th from Arrow, and then The Killer is coming out. Okay, of course I don't think it's been announced yet. No, it has been announced. Hold on. Let's see. When did this come out? Yeah, The Killer is coming out April 20th. So, and those are the two Arrow releases. Okay, so March, Hard Boiled, April, The Killer. Okay, so and I've talked about these ad nauseum. So buy any version you want. At this point, you want the Shout Factory, buy the Shout Factory. You want the Arrow, buy the Arrow. You want to import from Imprint if you're in the United States or wherever else, do that. Either way, these movies are finally getting good releases. You know what I'm saying? They're finally getting great releases. I remember I had the old Dragon Dynasty Blu-rays, and they look awful. They look bad. So these are revelatory. But the other two movies we have here are The Touch, and we have Beijing Bicycle. Beijing Bicycle is excellent. The Touch, not so much. The Touch stars Michelle Yeoh, came out in 2002, and looks every bit as bad as a 2002 movie would look in modern day. There's a lot of special effects work in here, and it's bad. And I know it's 2002. I was alive in 2002. I watched movies in 2002 with special effects. If you remember, famously around that time, we got Oh, we got, the sequel to The Mummy. We got, well, goodness, what's the sequel to The Mummy? Speaking of which, I can't wait for that Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser, and they're bringing him back. The Mummy Returns. Yeah, I was in the theater in 2001 to see The Mummy Returns. I know what the Rock looked like at the end of that movie. Awful. So I remember that. Oh, nice. Yeah, Rita. I have Rita and Gilda on my wall. Nice. I have a Rita Hayworth mini poster too. I so every year there's a local Comic Con. Rhode Island Comic Con happens every year around November. I went a couple of years in a row, and there were two booths that were selling mini posters, and one of them, and I bought one. It's over there actually, and I one year I bought one for Gilda, and I got it somewhere. I think I bought one for like Gilda, Seven Samurai, uh, uh, Godzilla from 1954. I bought so many of them, and my intention was to get them framed, but frames can be a little rather expensive actually. Um, you know, so I kind of didn't do that. I also have no wall space, as you can see around me. My wall space is nothing but movies down here. Um, you have guys haven't even seen the other parts here. That's also all movies too. So not a lot of wall space to hang things. So I kind of just kept them aside. They're in plastic, but so I have like a short poster. Was it what's the dimensions? Like 17 by 14? I think that's the dimensions of Gilda, of a poster of Gilda, but nice. Um let's see. They also say I have all the shot releases, not Picking Opera Blues though. Interesting. So Picking Opera Blues was one of the earlier ones. Um I've got like I said, I'm getting the show. I'm getting the show. I'm getting the Arrow releases, and I've got City on Fire. I've got City on Fire right here, and like I said, I'm gonna get Picking Opera Blues. I gotta get Hard Boiled. Gonna get The Killer, and all of them. I'm gonna get all of them. Um, I just tend to like Arrow's. Um, I tend to like Arrow's releases more. As you can say, I'm biased. Whatever. I think their encodings are better, and their special features, I think, are kind of all the same actually. But also the cover art's really nice. This is done by Tony Stella, who was nice enough to be a guest here on Chasing Labels once upon a time. So I always like to support people who've been on the show. Like to give back in that way. Uh, but nice. Where was I? Oh yeah, Touch. So like I said, I was there in 2002. I remember what movies looked like with heavy special effects in 2002, and this one, the third act of this, it looks rough. So a sister and brother, the last heirs of a family of acrobats, are called upon by a Buddhist monk sect to retrieve an artifact that their ancestors have protected throughout the ages. That's kind of the premise of the movie. There's this over the top bad guy in here portrayed by Richard Roxburgh, who is like this evil gangster boss guy who wants this artifact as well, and he like captures the brother and to force them to find this artifact and whatnot. It's convoluted, contrived plot. Anywho, some of the action's nice. Michelle Yeoh kicking ass. She's great. She's always great in the movie, but it's not great. There's a 103-minute original theatrical cut in standard definition. The US 83-minute cut is what's on Blu-ray. That's a heck of that's cutting 20 minutes out of the movie. Making of the Touch, Asia promotional tour featurette, theatrical trailer, and that's it. But the next movie is worth your time, and that is Beijing Bicycle. This movie is kind of like in a Chinese version of Bicycle Thieves, the Vittorio De Sica film, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies ever made. And to me, it's film school 101. Watching Bicycle Thieves, I feel like, is a rite of passage. If you want to get into, um, like international cinema, if you want to get into kind of more art housey cinema and stuff like that, or just if you want to know what it's like to be in film school, watch Bicycle Thieves, the Vittorio De Sica film. Uh, But let me read this what it says here, because this is a worldwide first on Blu-ray. Once banned in China, Beijing Bicycle is the acclaimed drama from writer-director Wang Xiaoshui, which won the Jury Grand Prix Silver Bear Award at the Berlin International Film Festival. The Berlin Film Festival is actually happening right now, the current one from 2026. A 17-year-old country boy working in Beijing as a courier has his bicycle stolen and finds it with a schoolboy his age. So what happens is you've got these two parallel stories going on. You've got these two schoolboys, and their lives both kind of depend on this bicycle. One is a courier who's needs it for his job or else he can't work, and the other one is he wants it because he wants to kind of impress a young girl his age, and he wants to go bike riding with her, and he wants to impress her by like hanging out with her and stuff, and he thinks he needs it. He needs that to do so. So you've got like kind of two different adolescent things going on here, and they're both kind of fighting over this bicycle, and it just kind of shows you how important this item is to them. And similar to Bicycle Thieves, if you've never seen the movie Bicycle Thieves, it's basically how centers around the importance of this bicycle to this person in that movie, and how vital it is to have this bicycle, how essential it is to have it. And this movie's playing on those themes as well, but doing it more so from an adolescent teenage perspective. I thought it was really, really good. Really, really good. So for special features, nothing. Damn it. Damn it. There's absolutely no special features here. Not even an audio commentary. There's a theatrical trailer, and that is it. That's kind of a shame, because I thought the movie is really, really good. This movie came out in 2001. So that's Beijing Bicycle. It's really, really good. So that is it for everything from Imprint. So let me check my notes now. So everything from Imprint, you've got, I dare say, plenty to choose from. You got their Asia bundle with Beijing Bicycle, The Touch, The Killer, Hard Boiled. You've got a box set trio of Tales of the Wild West Collection 2, Tales of Adventure Collection 10. You've got classic, Essential Film Noir Collection 6. You've got After Dark Neo Noir Collection number 4. You've got State of Grace, and you've got Dark Blue getting 4K releases. Tons of stuff coming from Imprint. Let me check my notes now to see where I want to go from here. Let's see. We've done Radiance. We've done Imprint. We've done Warner Archive. Let's go to Indicator. Indicator has one box set release, and that's it. Then we've got a couple of individual releases, and then we can hit Criterion, and we'll be good to go. So let me go over to Indicator's website, powerhousefilms.co.uk. I know it well. I know it well. So we've got one release coming from them, and it's a box set release. And this is coming from, when is this coming out? Excuse me. May 18th. May 18th, and this is Hammer Volume 7 Ships and Giggles limited edition, and this has 4 movies. The Ugly Duckling from 1959, Don't Panic Chaps from 1959, A Weekend with Lulu from 1961, Watch It Sailor from 1961 as well. Now, full disclosure, I only saw 2 of these movies. I saw The Ugly Duckling, and I saw A Weekend with Lulu. So the other 2 movies I haven't seen, so I can't really comment on them, but I got a sense of what this box set is from these 2 movies. So obviously this is a Hammer box set. These are movies that were originally put out by Hammer Films back in the 50s and 60s, and these are comedies, British comedies put out by Hammer back in the day. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Hammer did not only do horror films. I think horror films is kind of what they've become known for, and it's kind of what their best output has been over the decades, has been Hammer horror stuff. But they did a lot of other genres. They did comedies, they did dramas, adventure films, etc., etc. I've got I have volumes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 from Indicator of their Hammer stuff, and it's all good box sets, like really solid stuff. really good stuff. Um, so I highly recommend their Hammer sets. If you can still get them, a lot of them are out of print, unfortunately, but you can still buy the movies individually. I mean, you could go to eBay, but people are selling them for ridiculous prices. It's not. I love the box sets, but they're not worth hundreds of dollars. I mean, there's very few things I think that I would spend hundreds of dollars on that's now out of print. I don't. And I say that, and I don't even know if there's any. um, yeah, it's yeah, it's few and far between for me. But let me read what these movies are about, so we get a sense. So, Hammer Volume 7, Ships and Giggles, takes a look at the lighter side of the legendary film studio's diverse output with a quartet of comic classics starring a roll call of British comedy greats. The Ugly Duckling sees Carry On legend Bernard Bresslaw develop a split personality in this outrageous take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, also starring future Doctor Who John Pertwee. Uh, Dennis Price and George Cole play feuding officers in the military farce Don't Panic Chaps. Uh, Bob Monkhouse, Leslie Phillips, and Shirley Eaton are stranded in France during a disastrous holiday in A Weekend with Lulu. Finally, John Mellon plays a seaman who is late for his own wedding in the marital farce Watch It Sailor, which also stars Graham Stark, the legendary Liz Fraser, and Irene Handel. So, like I said, I've only seen The Ugly Duckling and what's it? What's the other one? A Weekend with Lulu. So, The Ugly Duckling, yeah, it's a comedy farcical version of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. And it takes place, I believe, in like 1959. And there's this kind of dim-witted, like lovable oaf of a guy who is always getting into trouble because he keeps like screwing up things and whatnot. And he ends up discovering like the long lost formula for the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde formula, and also like I think his family's like descendants from him or something like that. And so he finds it in a laboratory, whips it up, drinks it, and he becomes like this suave, debonair, cool guy who who is like slick back hair, he's got sunglasses on, and he walks like he's got confidence, you know what I mean? The complete opposite of who he really is. And he ends up getting involved with like local crime and pulling off a heist because they need a safe cracker. So they just see this cool guy and he's like, "Hey, you look like a safe cracker," and they bring him in, and and the thing is, like, it wears off after a short amount of time. So like it wears off like at the end of this heist that he pulls off, and he gets away with all the jewels and all like the loot, and now the bad guys are after him, right? And yeah, it's a fun movie. I actually really enjoyed it. Um, and I like how it kind of played on the whole Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing. And but then A Weekend with Lulu, I also had a lot of fun with too. It's not great. So when it comes to comedy, sometimes comedy works, sometimes it doesn't. But A Weekend with Lulu, this guy and his friend, so this guy is in a relationship with this beautiful, beautiful, attractive woman, and he and his friend, they're gonna go on this weekend together with her, and they rented this caravan, this trailer. It's a trailer, right? And they're pulling the trailer with an ice cream truck. They rented an ice cream truck to pull this trailer, but unbeknownst to them, this young lady, her mother won't let her go without her. So the mother goes on this trip with them, and she's hilarious. She's oblivious to things. She's over the top. She's smothering. She's just cracking jokes. She's great. And they end up, I don't know how, they end up in France. So they go from like the English countryside to France, and they've got to get home. And then a series of just misfortunes and mishaps. They get caught up in the Tour de France. Um, they've got ice cream. They've got ice cream in this ice cream truck. It's a whole thing. Um, the authorities are after them because they're in the country illegally. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I People on Letterboxd hate these movies. I saw a lot of 1-star and 2-star ratings on Letterboxd for both of The Ugly Duckling and A Weekend with Lulu, and I maybe people thought they were going into it getting a more traditional, Hammer film, and lo and behold, they did not. They did not get that at all, and, yeah, I had a fun time with them. They're breezy, they're funny, you know what I mean? Don't go into them thinking you're getting great Hammer, or think you're getting Hammer horror or Hammer drama, because 'cause you're not. You're getting something that's the complete opposite of that. And British humor is not for everyone. I'll definitely say that. British humor is not for everyone. Um, and yeah, I liked it. So let me get to the special features, and then we'll move on to some of the individual releases, and then we'll end with Criterion. So let's see special features. We've got um oh okay. So it says high definition masters of the Ugly Duckling, Don't Panic Chaps, A Weekend with Lulu, and Watch It Sailor. Archival interview with Vera Day, and Watch It Sailor actor in conversation with filmmaker Derek Piquet. Jonathan Rigby on Hammer Comedies. We have Robert Shale on Lance Comfort. We have introduction by Stephen Laws. The BEHP interview with Len Harris. The BEHP interview with Alfie Cox. BEHP interview with Tilly Day. A lot of these interviews here. David Benson and Frankie Howard. And then we've got Leslie Phillips Asks from 1960. Up in the Air, which is a feature-length Children's Film Foundation production set in a Victorian boarding house, and guest starring the Ugly Ducklings' John Pertwee. So John Pertwee, I mentioned he went on to be one of the doctors. I forget which one. Don't Panic Chaps theatrical trailer, and image galleries. And then there's a limited edition booklets with all kinds of essays and writings. This is Region B locked. Yeah, all of the Hammer box sets, I believe, are Region B locked, if I remember correctly. Um, that makes a lot of sense. So that is it for Indicator. That is it. Yeah, just that one box set. The box set of Hammer Volume 7, Ships and Giggles, coming out. When did I say March? I always forget things. Where are you? Release date. May 18th. Sorry, May 18th. I'm way off. Samsonite. Way off. All right, now let's go to the individual releases, and these are a couple. Ironically, we're going to be talking about Hammer in like a few seconds. Actually, I'll start out with Hammer. Let me see if I can go find The Crucible of Horror is the Hammer film that's getting released directly by Hammer. So it is officially Hammer time on Chasing Labels. Crucible of Horror. Of course. There's also another title for it too, because I'm looking up The Crucible of Horror. I'm not getting anything on Blu-ray.com. I'm also not getting anything on IMDb. Fantastic. Fantastic. Nope, I found it. It's also known as The Corpse. Oh, gee. How original of a title. Let's see. Of course. Okay. Oh, I think I found it. Yeah. Crucible of Horror getting a release on April 20th, 2026 from Hammer Films themselves. It'd be nice if they gave me... Wow, nothing. Hold on. Nope. Now I found it. See, when you dig, you have to dig far enough. So, Hammer Films is preparing a Blu-ray release of Victor's Vitelli's Crucible of Horror from 1971, starring Michael Gough, Yvonne Mitchell, Sharon Gurney, David Butler, and Olaf Pooley. The release is scheduled to arrive on the market on April 20th. Description: experience Crucible of Horror as never before. Painstakingly restored by Hammer Films from 4K scans of the original film negatives, this stark and unsettling psychological horror returns with a newly revealed detail and intensity. Michael Gough stars as Walter Eastwood, a tyrant within his own home, a domineering sadist whose quiet cruelty governs every moment of family life. Leaving behind gothic excess for cold verite style realism, director Victor Vitalis crafts a film of mounting dread where violence simmers just beneath the surface and escape feels impossible. With powerful performances from Sharon Gurney and BAFTA winner Yvonne Mitchell, and an unnerving score by John Hotchkiss, Crucible of Horror stands as one of the most disturbing and overlooked entries in British horror cinema. Um, the Definitive Hammer Presents release marks the film's first restoration from the original negatives and its first availability anywhere in the world at this level of quality. Okay, so we got a new 2K restoration of the film, new commentary with William Fowler and Vic Pratt, co-authors of Bodies Beneath and creators of Curators of the VFI's ongoing Flipside series, new interview with author and horror expert Jonathan Rigby, original theatrical trailer, image gallery, brand new artwork by Peter Strain, limited edition O card packaging, English subtitles on the main feature, and this is Region B locked. Okay, so that is the Crucible of Horror. And then next we've got um let me see, The Mysterious Gaze of the Flamingo. I have no idea where I'm going to find this, so we shall go on this trip together. Oh, I think I found it. My goodness, I didn't think I would. So, The Mysterious Gaze of the Flamingo is a released by Altered Innocence, and we haven't talked about Altered Innocence really a lot over the last little time, just because um uh I never see their releases get announced anywhere. For the most part. So when I come across it, I like to point it out. So, set in the early 1980, the Chilean desert, the film tells the story of 11-year-old Lydia, who grows up in a loving queer family pushed on the edge of an unwelcoming, dusty mining town. They are blamed for a mysterious illness that starts to spread, said to be passed through a single gaze when man falls in love with another. In this modern Western, Lydia leads a quest for vengeance, facing violence, fear, and hatred, where family is her only refuge and love might be the real danger. Okay, it's a movie from 2025, so I haven't seen it yet, and I'm curious about it because Alter Innocence does really interesting movies within queer cinema, dealing deeply with films in the LGBTQ plus community and all of that. So I'm very curious to see this movie. Uh, I don't even know when it's actually coming out. Yeah, I know very little about I think it was at the Cannes Film Festival? It was Chilean's Oscar submission. Um, Interesting. Like I said, I don't know anything about it. I just wanted to mention it to see if anybody knew anything about it, if anybody was interested, if anybody had seen other Altered Innocence releases from the past. I have a few in my collection. Uh, but yeah, let me move on to so there's two from New Wave Video. Our friend John Matthews over in Australia is doing some great work. Let me go over to their website actually. Let's get it directly from the source. Um let's get it directly from the source. So there's two movies here, rather different movies. First up here is A Cult Is My Passport. Now this is an awesome movie. This is a oh man, this is a Japanese noir from I want to say the 1960s. Yeah, 1967. This is great. So, A Cult Is My Passport follows solitary hitman Kamamura after routine contract collapses into betrayal. Branded expendables by his employers, he flees with only his gun, his personal code, and a woman inadvertently drawn into his escape, moving through desolate industrial zones toward an end that feels both inevitable and self-chosen. Um, Filmed in austere black and white, the film distills noir to its most elemental form, spare dialogue, rigorously controlled compositions, and bursts of sudden violence. Its cool minimalism, inflicted with the influence of the spaghetti western, culminates in one of the most explosive finales in cinema history, a cornerstone of Nikatsu's action style, and a career-defining performance from Shishido. Joe Shishido was in, what was he? Was he in Branded to Kill? Or was he in the other one? Um, let's see if I can find. Yeah, he was in Branded to Kill. Yeah, Joe Shishido was in Branded to Kill. Um, yeah, this movie is a mix of spaghetti western and noir, and it's minimalistic, it's industrial, it's really cool. It is available right now to stream on the Criterion channel, and there's 2 interviews in it, as special features on there, and they're not on here, which is unfortunate. There's an interview with Patton Oswalt for about 3.5, 4 minutes or so, where he talks about the movie, and he's interviewed by Alicia Malone from TCM, and then there's, is it Imogen Sarah Smith? Hold on, let me look, actually. Because I gotta go to Criterion's website anyway, so I might as well take a look there. But I want to make sure I credit the right person with the interview, and I'm not just making things up. Let's see. Also, "Cold as My Passport" is like one of the coolest titles for a movie. Um, it is Imogen Sarah Smith. Yeah, she does about a 2-minute, just talking about the movie. Unfortunately, neither of those are on this release. Which is unfortunate. But we do have some other special features. There's a 1080p high definition presentation, new audio commentary by author and filmmaker Jasper Sharp, new video essay, "A Cult is My Passport," and the borderless action film by film critic Derek Smith, a new video essay, "The Neo Noir Yakuza Cool of Shishido Joe" by Philip Jeffries, booklet featuring a new essay by Japanese cinema expert James Belmont, and new slipcover artwork by Puchamin, with UV and Spock gloss. Now, like I said, this movie came out in 1967. Um, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. I thought it was excellent. So that is the movie "A Cult Is My Passport." Um, yeah, if you like Branded to Kill, if you like those um Suzuki films, this is definitely in that vein. Not as stylish. It's not as stylish as those, but it's in that genre because Branded to Kill. And, what's the other one? I always forget it. I always forget it, and I hate myself. Um, Tokyo Drifter. Tokyo Drifter. Boom, popped in my head. Um, Branded to Kill and Tokyo Drifter. If you like those movies, you'll like "A Cult Is My Passport." Um, so yeah, so the other one is, like I said, completely different. It's called None Rope in Hell. This is, an exploitation film. After a brutal act of violence shatters her illicit affair, guilt-ridden Takako seeks salvation within the walls of a secluded convent, but the promise of absolution is a cruel illusion. Behind the convent's unholy facade lies a hidden world of ritualized cruelty, domination, and forbidden desire. Uh, yeah, so this movie is dealing with heavy sexual content in here. Like I said, it's exploitative. It's based on a novel. It's a disturbing collision of penitence, perversion, faith, and flesh, drawing visual and thematic influences from Suspiria and classic nunsploitation cinema. Yeah, it is part of the nunsploitation genre, which is, you know, exploitation, stuff like that. The film fuses eroticism with psychological horror, creating an unsettling and unforgettable experience. Um, New Wave Video proudly presents a special edition of this shocking Nikatsu S&M gem. That rhymes. 1080p high definition of a 2K restoration by the Nikatsu Corporation. New video essay, "Kiss from a Rose, Nun in Rope Hell, and Nunsploitation Cinema" by film historian Alexandra Helen Nicholas. One of our friends here at Chasing Labels, one of the greats. One of the greats. She appears in every single episode, pretty much, on a special feature somewhere. Booklet featuring a new essay by author and filmmaker Jasper Sharp. New slipcover design by Grindhead Productions with glossy UV slip gloss. This movie came out in 1984, runs 69 minutes long. This is a pre-order, expect to arrive in May of 2026. Now let me see when "A Cult Is My Passport" is coming out. May of 2026 as well. So those are the two new wave video announcements. None in Rope Hell, as well as A Cult is My Passport. Now, let's go over to Criterion. That is where we will finish up. Overall, a really good month from Criterion in terms of announcements. Um, let's see. So, what month are we in? May. So, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So we've got a diverse group of films here. Luckily, I've seen all of them. Yes, I've seen them all. So let me just run them down and then we'll get into them. So we have the movie Lenny with by Dustin Hoffman, which is a kind of a biopic about the comic Lenny Bruce. I have it actually. I have the imprint release from a few years ago. Really good. There's actually an interview, not interview. There's a review for it here on Chasing Labels. If you want to check that out. There's also going to be a release of Sentimental Value, which in my opinion is one of the best movies from 2025. It was one of my favorites. And then we've got the Lawrence Kasdan movie Body Heat. We've got the movie Fresh Kill. We have The Delta by Ira Sachs, as well as another Ira Sachs movie called Peter Hujar's Day, and that was from last year as well. So let's work backwards. Let's start with Peter Hujar's Day by Ira Sachs. And this is a loving snapshot of a vanished New York. Director Ira Sachs' captivating cultural time capsule is a warm, witty, graceful recreation of a real-life conversation that took place between photographer Peter Hujar, portrayed by Ben Whishaw, and writer Linda Rosenkrantz, portrayed by Rebecca Hall in 1974. And quite honestly, that is the movie. That is the movie. The movie runs 76 minutes long, and all it is Ben Whishaw and Rebecca Hall having a conversation. And mostly it's just him talking about his day, what he did the day before. And this was based on a book that Linda Rosenkrantz wanted to make, but never did, where she wanted to just do a book of conversations uh, of her artist friends telling her about their day, and they never published it, or it was never made. But there were audio clips of it where she would interview them via audio tape, and apparently it was found in Peter Hujar's archive in 2019, and Ira Sachs decided to make a movie of just this conversation, this interview, this not even an interview, it's just him talking about his whole day. Like I said, the movie's 76 minutes long, and it's just like various scenes and setups and moments of Ben Whishaw just talking. And you see Peter Hujar's day of like waking up and I had breakfast and this is what I ate and I went over like my schedule for the day and I got a phone call from this person. Allen Ginsberg called me because they wanted to set up a photo shoot and all of this. And it's really nice. Oh, Acres of Movies. Did you see? So you've seen it. I enjoyed that movie. Yeah, Peter Hujar's Day. I heard about it last year. People had it on a lot of their favorites lists, and I saw it on a lot of those lists, and I saw it on Letterboxd a lot, and I wanted to check it out, and I did. And it's I mean, if you like this type of movie, this art house, not even experimental, kind of just plain like throwback, just artsy type of movie about artists talking about their lives. That's kind of that'll be the movie for you. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. If you want plot, you're not going to get it here. If you want excitement, you're not going to get it here. But it also shows like how artists like they have a day. They have a kind of a normalcy of a day for them, a mundanity of their day, and this movie kind of tries to capture that. I found it fascinating, really, really fascinating. Um, and I do agree, Ben Whishaw is an underrated actor. I don't think he's an actor that a lot of people know of, although they've seen him, because Ben Whishaw was in the newest James Bond films. He played in the Daniel Craig James Bond films. He's also the voice of Paddington in the 3 Paddington movies, and people love those movies, including myself. So people know Ben Whishaw, they just may not know Ben Whishaw, if you will. But yeah, I really liked it. Um, um, Yeah, I really like this type of movie, and this is getting a Criterion Premieres release. So for special features, all you get is meet the filmmaker, Ira Sachs, a Criterion Channel original interview. That's typically all you get with these Criterion Premieres release. These Criterion Premieres release are replace the the Janus Films contemporaries releases. Yes, that's what they've replaced. But yeah, that's Peter Hujar's Day. And then we have another Ira Sachs film in The Delta. Now, this is an interesting movie. The complexities of race, class, and sexuality collide within a Memphis community in the strikingly raw debut feature film from director Ira Sachs. With neorealist immediacy, The Delta tells what at first appears to be a simple love story. Two young men, Lincoln, a closeted white teenager, and Min, a black Vietnamese immigrant, meet at a cruising spot and embark on a nighttime journey by boat down the Mississippi River. But soon, imbalances of power and privilege emerge between them as the film develops into a devastating vision of lost, wounded souls reaching out in the dark for human connection. That puts it quite well, actually. That puts it quite accurately. That's definitely what this movie's about. New 2K digital restoration supervised and approved by Ira Sachs. Audio commentary from 2001 with Ira Sachs. New interview with Sachs conducted by film critics Keith Ulick. Two short films by Ira Sachs, Vaudeville and Lady. And that's it. And there's an essay in the booklet as well. And this is available to watch on the Criterion channel. And I wanted to check if Peter Hujar's Day was as well. I think it was. That's where I watched them. Yeah, that's where I watched them. So yeah, that's The Delta. Fresh Kill, completely diverged from the two films we were just talking about, is a movie by Shulia Chang, a disturbingly prescient eco-feminist parable and a brainwave scrambling cyberpunk fantasia. The debut feature from new media pioneer Shule Chang emerges a bold vision of resistance with an exuberant early interest aesthetic in a dystopian chic New York where sushi joints and toxic waste sites exist side by side. A lesbian couple, portrayed by Sharita Chaudhry and Aaron McMurtry, turn to the hacker underground to solve their daughter's disappearance, in the process exposing a conspiracy involving corporate greenwashing and tainted fish, swinging between outre, outre satire and agitprop. Fresh Kill sounds the alarm about a capitalist system that pollutes and everything from our waterways to our bodies to our minds. Movies definitely politically charged, definitely a and about the the environment and things like that, pollution. Definitely heavy themed in here. The style of this movie is wild. It bounces you around like a beach ball at a concert. You're jumping from moment to moment, plot to plot. There's really not a through line plot in this movie that's really keeping you grounded. Movie button, like I said, knocks you around. Truly an auteurist vision of a cyberpunk '90s, not cyberpunk, but like satirical punk film. It says cyberpunk fantasia, which that's pretty accurate. But for special features, new 4K restoration, supervised and approved by the director. New interview with the director and Sarita Chaudhry. A new program highlighting the 2024 theatrical release of the film and the director's self-distribution. Discussion with the director, the film's 30th anniversary, moderated by scholar Jignan Desai and presented by the Carsey Wolf Center at the University of California, Santa Barbara. LG Guggenheim Art and Technology Initiative profile of the director, recipient of the organization's 2024 award for artist achievement. And there's an essay on here as well. This is also available on the Criterion channel if you have it. But it's a wild, wild movie. Next, we've got Body Heat. Body Heat by Lawrence Kasdan. Now, this has been available on Blu-ray from Warner Brothers since 2008. So this was a movie that desperately needed some form of remastering, restoring, something like that. And we finally got it. We finally got it. With this debut feature, acclaimed writer-director Lawrence Kasdan brilliantly updated the conventions of 1940s film noir for the 1980s. This is basically his remake of Double Indemnity, resulting in one of the steamiest and most influential erotic thrillers ever made. Yeah, because it's the 1980s, you can get away with a lot more than you could in the 1940s. Um, on the sultry South Florida coast, lawyer Ned Racine William Hurt is drawn into a torrid affair with unhappily married housewife Maddie Walker, portrayed by Kathleen Turner, in a star-making performance. And it's not long before they've hatched a scheme to murder her wealthy husband. This is Double Indemnity. It's Lawrence Kasdan doing Double Indemnity in the 1980s. And having seen the movie, yeah, it is a steamy, like erotic thriller from that time period. Um, there's plot twists and betrayal and all kinds of stuff, seduction, desire, all those types of things. But new 4K digital restoration, supervised by editor Carol Littleton and approved by director Lawrence Kasdan. Let's see, we have one 4K UHD disc presented in Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray. So it's a 2-disc 4K UHD release. There's a new interview with Lawrence Kasdan himself, new conversation between Littleton and film historian Bobby Osteen, archival programs featuring Kasdan, Littleton actors William Hurt, Kathleen Turner, and Ted Danson, and cinematographer Richard H. Klein and composer John Barry, as well as deleted scenes. I think those archival stuff, that's all from like the Blu-ray and the DVD and whatnot. And there's an essay in here as well. But yeah, if you don't own Body Heat and you're a fan of the movie, your time has arrived. I don't think I own the movie myself, so this will be something I pick up at some point. Um, um, yeah, Fresh Kill is an interesting movie, but it is all over the place. It's a movie that like it it's so odd. Like the plot is not cohesive. But there's just a lot like being thrown at you all at once. It's fascinating. Um yeah, one of our commenters said that Fresh Kill sounds amazing. It's interesting. Um let's see. That's an interesting idea. Acres of Movie says, is Mastermind going straight to Criterion? I don't know. I do not know. I haven't heard anything about a release yet for Mastermind. Hold on. That's the movie. The Mastermind. That's the movie from Kelly Reichardt. That's actually interesting because Kelly Reichardt does have a lot of movies does have several movies that get put out by Criterion. I'm thinking of Old Joy and Certain Women. By a lot, I mean 2. Um, so I have no idea. That's a good question. I have to see what Kelly Reichardt's other films have gotten released recently. As it is, what's interesting, there's not even a ironically, there's a Blu-ray release of The Mastermind put out in Australia last month. That's the only physical media release of it available right now. That's really fascinating, actually, just because I didn't think that would come out that fast. Trying to see what other movies from Kelly Reichardt have gotten released recently, and from whom. Let's see. I remember Showing Up had an A24 and A24 release. Actually, that reminds me. Hold on. Let me see. I can see who distributed it, then I can maybe give it maybe gives a hint at who's gonna put it out. Did Mubi will put it out. That's my guess. Since Mubi, distributed it, typically they put out the stuff that they distribute. Um, for example, let me what did they put out recently that was really good? Let's see. I think Mubi where are you? Let me go they put out a lot of movies actually. Um, they put out oh, interesting. Yeah, but Die My internationally, they put out, like, Die My Love, but what was the one they put out? This is gonna drive me crazy. Was it hold on, I'm gonna bear with me here because this is gonna drive me nuts. I'm going off on a tangent here. Um, yeah, they put out Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, and they had US distribution for that, so they put out their own 4K and Blu-ray of that. So that leads me to believe if they have the mastermind, they're gonna put it out themselves. When? I don't know, but let's see. Yeah, because they have US distribution. My guess is the mastermind will be put out by Mubi. Okay. Mystery solved. Mystery solved. Oh yeah. Okay. I enjoyed Rubber's Lover. I'm ready for anything. Oh my goodness. Speaking of which, I've got Rubber's Lover right next to me. So, yeah. So John Matthews is a friend of ours here at Chasing Labels. We've known him for years, and we interviewed him when um, he announced Rubber's Lover and Noriko's Dinner Table, and this movie is nuts. This is nuts. Um, uh, Basically, the way I've been selling this movie to people, not selling it, but just like telling, hey, you see this movie, Rubber's Lover? If you like Tetsuo the Iron Man, then this movie's for you. This movie's for you. Uh, this is bonkers. If you've seen this and you've seen Tetsuo the Iron Man, you can kind of handle anything. You can kind of handle anything. Um, yep, Noriko's Dinner Table. I've got. Let me actually. I'm on New Wave. I was just on New Wave site. I have to go back to that. Uh, but um, because I got to get their other release of. Let me go to yeah. Yes, so Strange Circus, Noriko's Dinner Table, Rubber's Lover, the first three releases. Um, yeah, Noriko. If you check out Noriko's Dinner Table, you don't have to watch it, but Noriko's Dinner Table is like a pseudo sequel to the Suicide Club, which I think just got a release from Umbrella. So it's the Suicide Club, and then the sequel is Noriko's Dinner Table. But Noriko's Dinner Table is not so much a direct sequel, but it references things that happened in the first movie. It's tough to explain. Um, it's tough to explain. Yeah, Strange Circus is twisted. That's a twisted movie. Um, First time I saw it, I was like, "Holy heck! It's a dark and twisted movie, dark and twisted." Um, I don't think I've seen Matango. I haven't seen that. No. Oh, nice, nice. Okay, so you get it. Okay. So he says, "Yep, I have Suicide Club on order and another DVD from a company called TLA." Yeah, I just like because I don't know I didn't know anything about Noriko's Dinner Table and the Suicide Club until I started doing research for Chasing Labels. And then I talked about them, during the Chasing Labels episode, and I had to explain to people that it's a sequel to the Suicide Club, because at that time, that Suicide Club Blu-ray from Umbrella had not been announced yet. So I had to go seek out. I had to watch that movie first before I watched Enrico's Dinner Table. Completely, rather different movies, actually, rather different movies. But back to the task at hand. Where was I? Um, yeah, we were talking about Body Heat. So yeah, we talked about Body Heat, and that's the Lawrence Kasdan film. And then we have Sentimental Value. This is the Joachim Trier film. Joachim Trier, I think, is a really good director. He did the movie The Worst Person in the World, which also got a Criterion release a couple of years ago. I had it. I think I put it. It's on my shelf actually behind me. I'm looking right at it. Actually, let me. Nah, I'm not gonna. I was gonna get up and get it, but no, it's a whole thing. um, Um, but I think Joachim Trier is a really good director. I really like Sentimental Value a lot. Um, Good movie with really good actors, really good screenplay, really good themes. I'm a big fan of Sentimental Value. Joachim Trier, one of contemporary cinema's great humanists, excavates layers of history and memory, both national and personal, for this rich, ineffably moving story of one family's attempts to come to terms with generations of trauma and healing. After the death of their mother, two sisters must contend with the return home to Norway of their estranged father, celebrated filmmaker Gustav Borg, portrayed by Stellan Skarsgård. In the case of Nora, Renate Rensby, an actor he hopes to reconnect by casting her in his new film, a project that both inflicts fresh wounds and reopens old ones, with a virtuoso ensemble cast that also includes uh, Inga Ibsdotter, uh, Inga Ipstad Liliaeus in a breakout performance, and Elle Fanning. Trier's film delicately balances each moment of humor and hurt, conducting a stunningly emotional exploration of how the past echoes in the present, and art can transform pain into catharsis. That's all true. That's all true about the movie. New 4K digital master approved by director Joachim Trier. One 4K UHD disc of the film and one Blu-ray of the film, and special features. New conversation with Trier and filmmaker Mike Mills. That sounds awesome. Mike Mills, super underrated director. Mike Mills is an underrated director. If you haven't checked out any of um, his work is really, really good. He did the movie Beginners, which I think is a criminally underrated movie. He also did the movie 20th Century Women. He did the movie Come On, Come On, which I actually have over here. Here's the movie Come On with Joaquin Phoenix. So I thought this was a really solid movie from a few years ago. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Really good film. Really good film. But I really like Beginners a lot, and I really like 20th Century Women. Acres of Movies agrees with me. Mike Mills, super underrated. So there's that interview between Trier and Mike Mills, and there's new selected scene commentaries by Trier, co-screenwriter Eskil Vogt, production designer Stangby Larson, and sound designer Giselle DeVe, Veto. Needless to say, my pronunciation is way off. New interviews with actors Renee Rensby, Stellan Skarsgård, Inga Ib's daughter, Lilias, and Elle Fanning, and deleted scenes. There's an essay in here as well. And yeah, I can't wait to get this. I know people are not too hot about the cover art for it, which it's fine. It's fine for me. Um, I don't get caught up on those things for the most part, other than like the mainstream, because they're just the mainstream studios, the big studios, Universal and Warner Brothers and Sony and all those cats, Disney and all those cats. You can tell that their cover art for their releases are not great a lot of the time. Not great. Paramount as well, throw them in there. But that's what I love about um, the boutique label world, is even down to the cover art. Um, truly unique artistic takes on things. And yeah, but let's see what else do we've got here. What's the last movie we're going to talk about here before we go? We're gonna talk about ba, 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 oh, Lenny. Yes, Lenny. So I've got this. Where are you? It's up there somewhere. I think it's up on the top row. Um, but director Bob Fosse's nervy, freewheeling showbiz drama tells the real life story of taboo shattering comedian Lenny Bruce, the counterculture prophet whose unfiltered style opened up new frontiers in self expression. Dustin Hoffman brings a live wire intensity to his portrayal of the Motormouth Bruce as he goes from small time strip club MC to free speech lightning rod, while Valerie Perrin lends the film its soul with her deeply affecting performance as his wife. His wife Honey, an innocent lost on the dark side of Bohemia, a complex portrayal of one iconoclast by another. Fosse's film makes deft use of stark monochrome photography and kinetic editing to vividly capture Bruce's smoky, seedy backstage world. A uniquely stylized film in its presentation of the plot. It's not really like it's not a traditional biopic. It's not really like, this is his childhood, this is his adolescence, this is his adulthood. No, it's more concentrated on his adulthood, more concentrated on his words and his stand-up and the controversy behind him of the time, because he used to be arrested all the time for just saying shit. You know what I mean? Like he would just get arrested for saying words you're not supposed to say, for criticizing things you're not supposed to criticize. Truly, a kind of a maverick in the world of of stand-up comedy and just stand up in general, and just kind of, I wouldn't even call it activism. It was more of just fighting back against oppression, just in general, which is something that is very reminiscent of the world we have today, because oppression still exists in our society, in our culture, whether it be political or whatever the case may be. It's there. Freedom of thought is constantly oppressed all of the time. Um, yeah, more so now than probably ever, maybe, I don't know. But needless to say, he was an interesting character, and this movie, directed by Bob Fosse from 1974, is a unique take on on him. Um, Portrayed by Dustin Hoffman, who back in the 70s was really on fire in terms of as an actor. I say this the from like The Graduate all the way up through like the early 80s, uh even like all the way up to like Tootsie. Dustin Hoffman was really good, like a really all-time run of an actor. um yeah, there's a lot of great films in there, a lot of great, like Marathon Man is really good. You had Midnight Cowboy, which is best picture winner, first, the only like X-rated movie to ever win best picture. um Yeah, I saw The Graduate the other day. TCM was playing The Graduate the other day. I just had it on, in the background while I do things, and it's still an all-time movie, Mike Nichols film. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman, great actor, great actor. Oh, what is interesting? Acres the movie says is make a new Lenny biopic. Who should make it? Um, I have no idea, but I will say this: I don't know if a lot of people know this. There was the Amazon series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, from a few years ago. There was an actor in that show that portrayed Lenny Bruce, and he was excellent, like fantastic, and yeah, kind of revolutionary. Like he like stole every scene he was in, and he was an incredible actor. Um, but damn, I don't think a lot of people know this. Oh yeah, Rain Man. Yeah, Anchors the movie says Rain Man wins Best Picture and Best Actor. Yeah, I forget about Rain Man. There's an MVD 4K release of Rain Man put out a few years ago that I still want to get, but it's still rather expensive. Um, but I've owned Rain Man twice already, so it's one of those things where, like, it's a movie I've owned twice because there was the Blu-ray, then there was a remastered Blu-ray they put out, and now there's a 4K, and I'm like, "Am I gonna buy Rain Man for a 3rd time?" I like the movie a lot, but it's one of those things as a collector that you kind of, like, you weigh the cost effectiveness of it, like, the value of the cost, you know? Um, at least for me, that's the way it goes. Um oh, Acres of Movie says Miles Teller as Lenny. That's as Lenny Bruce. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not a bad pick actually, because he's done biopics like that before. I just don't know. I don't know if he can pull it off. He was interesting. Interesting. That's interesting. So Acres of Movie says if Meet the Parents 4 is good, are they making a Meet the Parents 4? Is good and a hit make Meet the Parents prequel show De Niro meet Blythe Danner. Who plays a young De Niro? That should be the question you're asking, Acres of Movies. Who would play a young De Niro in a prequel? As it is, um, the Heat 2, I think, is gonna have the De Niro character in a younger form, if I do recall. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. The thing is, I don't know if anybody could play George Carlin. Acres of Movies asks, who you cast for George Carlin? That's interesting. I don't it's tough. It's tough to make, biopics about these iconic people. Um, I know recently we've gotten not biopics, but yeah, biopics. We've gotten biopics, portrayed by people who don't really look like the people. Um, like, for example, Timothy Chalamet doesn't look like Bob Dylan, but he was in a Bob Dylan biopic, and he was really, really good in it. I think at some point you've gotta kinda put away, trying to find somebody who looks like the person and kinda go more so with the performances. It's interesting you mentioned the Acres of Movies because they recently you mentioned earlier about those Sam Mendes Beatles biopics that are gonna come out, and they revealed the actors and how they look like in the roles, and people were not happy with that at all. They were really, really not. Um Mm. So, I don't know, it's interesting, but for Lenny, there's a new 4K digital restoration with the uncompressed monaural soundtrack, one 4K disc of the movie presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features, which has there's an audio commentary from 2015 featuring film historians Nick Redman and Julie Kurgo, archival interview with actors Dustin Hoffman and Valerie Perrin, and there's an interview with editor Alan Heim. And then there's a booklet with an essay as well, and let me check the old Indicator release of Lenny because 'cause I'm curious what that had. Let's see. Yeah, there was an old, Twilight Time release. I think that's where that one of those special features came from, but let me see. Oh, there it is. Imprint number 285. This came out in 2023. Ah, it doesn't let me see if I can find that was a long time ago. That was 3 years ago now. Seems like only yesterday. So, the Lenny imprint release had audio commentary with Nick Redman and Julie Kurgo. That's on the Criterion. It has Dead Neon: The Many Faces of Lenny Bruce on Film. That's a video essay. That's not on the Criterion. There's a video essay on the career of actress Valerie Perrin by author slash critic Kat Ellinger. That's not on the Criterion. Fosse on Fosse Time editing Lenny, an interview with editor Alan Heim on his collaboration with Bob Fosse. I think that's on the Criterion, right? Yeah, interview with editor Alan Heim, and there's the Lenny Bruce audio files. That is not on the Criterion. Trailers from Hell, Robert Wide on Lenny. That's not on the Criterion. So if you have the Lenny um, Blu-ray from Imprint, you've got a few special features that are not on the Criterion. But I think the Criterion has archival interviews with actors Dustin Hoffman and Valerie Perrin. I don't think that. Yeah, that's not on there. Okay, that's not on the Lenny Imprint release. All right. So all of these are coming out in May of 2026, which will be here before we know it. So for one more from the top, we've got Lenny, which is directed by Bob Fosse, coming out on May 26, 2026. We have Sentimental Value by Joachim Trier from that's also coming out May 26, 2026. We got Body Heat, directed by Lawrence Kasdan, coming out on May 19th, 2026. We have Fresh Kill from uh, Shule Chang, coming out on May 19th, 2026. The Delta from Ira Sachs, coming out on May 12th, 2026. And we've got Peter Hujar's um, Day, coming out on May 12th, 2026. I actually forgot one movie. That's the movie Stray Dog, the Akira Kurosawa film, coming out on May 5th, 2026. And we will go over this quickly, although you could do a whole episode on Akira Kurosawa. A bad day gets worse for young detective Murakami when a pickpocket steals his gun on a crowded bus. Desperate to right the wrong, he goes undercover, scavenging Tokyo's sweltering streets for the stray dog whose desperation has led him to a life of crime. So, this movie stars Toshiro Mifune as this cop whose gun is stolen, and he's basically desperate to get it back. He's desperate to get it back. Um, and the movie is excellent. This movie is great. I was waiting so many years for this to finally get a high definition release because all it had was a DVD release from Criterion. So it's a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, one 4K UHD of the movie, one Blu-ray with the features, audio commentary by Stephen Prince, author of Warriors Camera, The Cinema of Akira Kurosawa. There's a short documentary on Stray Dog, and there's an essay on it as well. And I think those basically carry over from the DVD. So nothing new in that fact, but you do finally get the Akira Kurosawa movie, Stray Dog, on not only Blu-ray, but 4K. Hopefully this leads to more Kurosawa because we haven't had a DVD to high definition upgrade from a Kurosawa film from Criterion in many, many years. I think the last one was Dreams in like 2016, so it's been a while. And don't quote me on that, but I think it was. Now we've gotten recent Blu-rays to 4K upgrades, like Seven Samurai. I think Dreams got an upgrade as well. But to go from DVD to high definition, or in this case to super high definition with 4K, that's awesome, awesome to see. Now I would thought after waiting after all this time, we were going to get some type of Akira Kurosawa 4K box set, which would be an astronomical cost. I feel like that would cost so much money. But I guess I can hold out a fool's hope that that's still in the works. But it's nice to see Stray Dog get the upgrade that it so desperately needed. There's still other Criterion Akira Kurosawa DVDs that need an upgrade, but we shall wait patiently like we always do. But that is um, everything from here on Chasing Labels, spine number 184. A couple of um, comments here before we go. Acres of Movie says, Kingpin 2, please say yes. Bowling movie, a new generation of bowling stars. I'm trying to think of what was the last movie that had bowling featured in it. But I guess they just did a ping pong movie with Marty Supreme, so why not? Um, Excited to acquire Lenny. Yeah, it's good. Bob Fosse was good director, a really good director. Just a good talent, really. Um, Fosse, yeah, Fosse did all all that jazz is kind of amazing. All that jazz is an amazing movie. Um, yeah, he, choreographer, dancer, Bob Fosse was incredible. Um, no, that would be nice. To be more ADA compliant, should Criterion have bigger fonts and offer essays as audio readings? That would be nice. That would be nice. Um, yeah, nice. Thank you. Andrew, the feature detective, give him a microscope. He will spot differences best. Thank you, Acres of Movies. Well, that's the thing. If you're a collector, right? You have to know the difference between the editions, right? Because you want the best, or you at least you want the one that looks the best to you. So you've got to know, especially now with all these different labels and all these different countries, you've got to know who's putting out what, where, and which one is the best. And I guess kind of unfortunately for collectors is sometimes they come out in in years, like one will come out and then 2 years later we'll get a 4K. And you're like, oh, damn. Like, I wish I knew that a 4K was coming. I wouldn't have bought that Blu-ray version. Um, you got to know these things. Um, let's see. Um, w- Acres of Movies ask, would you rather see a movie on the origin of forks or neckties? I guess neckties. I don't know why, because it feels like you could roll that into fashion. You can roll that into like a fashion theme. That would be nice. Um, Thank you, Acres Movie says you do a great job at this. Well, thank you very much. I think I'll end it on that positive note. So, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. This has been episode number 184, like I've already said. Check everything else out that we've been doing here on the channel, Criterion reviews, uh, the other Chasing Labels episodes. We've been doing Unwatched Pile. We've been doing Movies Down Memory Lane. We've been doing Movie Mutations, our movie related game show. Those videos I think are up here as well. If not, just YouTube search movie mutations. We have a few episodes up of that. Also, yeah, check out everything. If you want to hear this in an audio version of this, it's available pretty much every place podcasts can be listened to. Apple, Google, Spotify. Also, there's audio versions here on YouTube as well. And there's the video version here as well. Check out the live tab. That's where you'll see a lot of our videos. And yeah, so thank you all, and please stay tuned for everything else we got going here. Um, yeah, thank you all as always. And also, as always, hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.